is going to attempt to limit quote-unquote tampering. We'll see if this ends up being the NCAA is so mad at Kentucky that they hammered Cleveland State, as Jerry Tarkanian once said about the teeth of the NCAA and how they're scared to go after certain teams, and they will do whatever it takes to hammer another team.
So mad at North Carolina, they took it out on Mizzou.
Absolutely. They were so pissed that North Carolina cheated that they took it out on Mizzou.
You can't have fake classes. You have a tutor? No, that's way worse than fake classes.
Well, hold on. That tutor wasn't available to every single person on campus.
And you self-reported?
Yeah.
You don't do that.
Thank you for turning yourself in. You know, not going to help you any. We're still going to hammer you, but we certainly appreciate you doing that, and nobody else will do that again. So college football is looking into that. We'll talk about what that may mean or may not mean at all. Mick Schaefer is in Indianapolis, and he'll join us at 1 o'clock. We'll hang out with him, get his thoughts on what's going on around Indy, if he has had any meals with anybody cool, if he's, breaking bread with anybody cool that's there. And today, defensive line linebackers will be talking today, so that means at some point at the podium, Zion Young will be up there. It means at some point at the podium, Cassius Howe from Texas A&M/Kansas City will be there. And I still won't – look, if he ends up on the Chiefs, I won't hold it against him that he went to Rockhurst. I am willing – look, I know. I'm willing to do – just like, Shieldhouse, getting the OC job for the Rams. Congratulations. If he would have been the OC for the Chiefs, I would not have held it against him that he went to Rockhurst. Okay, I'll overlook certain things with certain people. But there are other people I will absolutely hold it against you for the rest of my life that you went there. But Cassius Howe, and we'll see now if he ends up as like a Bronco and he's destroying the Chiefs like a Von Miller, well, then that's just the Rockhurst in you. What a turncoat. An absolute Benedict. You know what I mean? But he'll be at the podium today as well with the linebackers. Keyshawn Elliott that went to Richmond for Arizona State. He'll be at the podium at some point today as part of the linebackers. Chris McClellan was trying to think of, come on, think of the defensive tackle from Mizzou. That's there as well. Chris McClellan will be there at the podium at some point today. Josiah Trotter will be talking today as well with defensive linemen and linebackers. So an interesting mix of some local players from the colleges and also local players from the area that did not end up going to some of the local players. Oh, Big Citrus from North Kansas City High School, Dominique Orange. Yeah. That defensive tackle for Iowa State that I would certainly like to see in a Chiefs uniform. That would be awesome. And then Keyshawn Elliott, I think, is the other one from that went to Richmond. Did I already mention that?
Yeah. I'm just ready to talk Mizzou basketball. I'm just ready to talk about the.
Let's do it.
The gloriousness that was.
Let's get into
Missouri.
Let's get into it. Mizzou takes care of business. They get the big win against Tennessee. They take care of business. I look, Sterling. I will tell you, when they fell behind by 10 early, my thoughts at the time, and I don't know what you were thinking or anybody else out there what they were thinking. This wasn't trying to be like, oh, Mizzou's going to Mizzou. That wasn't the case at all.
Oh.
But my thought was, of all the teams in the conference that you don't want to fall behind by 10, it's the team that offensive rebounds and wears you the bleep out physically.
Yep. That
you've got to overcome a 10-point deficit in this game that's just going to defend and wear you down and grind you down. And you got to beat them by 11 in the last 30 minutes of the game. And you've scored 4 points so far, and they're going to make everything tough. In my mind, I'm like, look, fall behind by 10 to Alabama because they'll let you score.
Oh, yeah.
You'll get up and down the court. Not great, but they'll let you score. Fall behind by 10 to Auburn. They'll let you score. You can get up and down the floor and do some of those things. Fall behind by 10 to Kentucky. Get up and down the floor. Don't fall behind by 10 to Florida because they're looking like a Final Four team again. But also don't fall behind by 10 to a team that wants to play Big Ten football. And Tennessee is that team. And I came away from that game, Sterling, almost more impressed that they were able to win it because they fell behind early, fought back, fought through the physicality, fought through the officials saying, we're good with this being a 2010 Big East game.
Dude,
we're totally fine with this being a wrestling match and an Oklahoma drill going on.
But we'll call some crazy ones against Missouri because I don't want to start here, but I'm just going to bring this up because I was so angry and I tweeted this out last night. Missouri's the home team, and they get treated like a road team every single game by SEC refs. I get so damn angry.
I don't know about every
Missouri's been in the SEC 13 years now. I get it. Tennessee, you've been there longer. I get it, guys. We understand. You want to carry water for them.
Missouri gets a big win, and Sterling wants to start with the refs.
Well, no, I'm not. But
they get a big win, and he wants to.
If they would have lost, it wouldn't be the refs' fault either way. Don't fall behind 11. The point still remains, though. I get so sick and tired of Missouri getting road whistles at home. It feels like perpetually. At some point, come on, I get it. They're not Tennessee. They're not a traditional SEC squad. I understand. Grow up, refs, and maybe be better at your job. College refs are horrendous. My pet peeve. Gosh, I love T.O. Barrett and Mark Mitchell. I want to give them big hugs.
Were you fine with T.O. Fouling Gillespie and slapping down on the arm and the ball coming loose and then T.O. going down and finishing the other way?
I love that one.
Okay, that's fine. I didn't know what you were feeling.
I actually didn't say that. I looked at my boys because they're KU guys and TCU guys. I said, Mizzou got one there.
Okay, got one.
I go, you know what? Mizzou, I actually said, Mizzou got one here.
There you go. What did you think when they were down 10, though, in all seriousness?
In all seriousness, this was 100% my reaction. I'm at a bar watching this game. I looked towards the bartender. I said, 2 beers and a shot of Rumplemans. I swear to you, that is my reaction when they got down. I go, this is going to be a long game. This is going to suck. I'm here with KU guys. They're going to start giving me a hard time. I need to ease the pain. And we crushed those, and things got better. So I think that maybe I was the reason Missouri got turned around. I started too late. I didn't have the $1.99 beers before the game like some of those guys.
Yeah.
Some of the players, the students.
I don't know. Maybe the players had a few to get rolling. Maybe they came off the court down 10 and they had a couple just to calm their nerves.
But that was my reaction was, okay, this looks bad. They're giving up open looks. Tennessee's bullying them. They're going down low. They're getting quick, easy buckets. They hit a couple threes. Tennessee did, and Missouri just looked out of sorts. They turnovers, missed layups, bad defense. I mean, I was flummoxed. I thought, okay,
bad defensive rebounding.
I mean, 18 offensive rebounds for Tennessee in this game, which again we know that's what they do.
Right.
But still, that's what Sean Phillips and you expect to be better than that when you have the size and the height, at least, that Missouri has.
For sure. A number of things to take away from this game. Jack, did you have a certain feel one way or another? Like, I went into Monday night, and we talked about this, that I wasn't concerned that Kansas was going to lose to Houston.
Yeah.
Like, Kansas was going to beat Houston. I was convinced all day. Last night going into that game, I'm like, this one is a 50-50 game. Can go either way, and it would be nice if Mizzou got off to a quick start at home and made Tennessee be the team that had to fight back. And Mizzou fell behind by 10, and it wasn't that I thought the game was over. It was that I thought this is now a much tougher uphill battle against one of the most physical teams in the league. What were your thoughts 10 minutes in the game when Mizzou couldn't score? They were down 10. They couldn't grab defensive rebounds, and they couldn't hit a shot.
Well, I remember when I was filling in for Seren on Monday, and I was talking to Curtis about the Arkansas game.
Mm-hmm.
It was, that game doesn't really hurt you at all. I mean, you could only gain something from winning in Fayetteville. If you lose, Arkansas is playing like a top 5 team in the country right now. But the only way it can stay that way, of it not hurting you, is if you beat Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And if you beat Tennessee, now you look at the back 3 games or the last 3 games you have in the regular season, and you don't have to be perfect. And you add another signature win. And falling behind early to a team like Tennessee, we have seen so many times with their ability,
You're good. You're getting choked up about it. I get it, man.
Their
Yeah, it
offensive
was
rebounding,
emotional.
It's emotional. It always happens to me. But anyways, when you have a team that's that physical, KU's played them, Missouri's played them, and they've got such a post presence, and their wings are so long, they can put you in a spot where you're constantly running uphill. You're constantly swimming upstream. What Missouri's done so well over the last couple of games is, when Tennessee would get close, and especially in the final 5 minutes of that game, when they would get within 2 points, they could hit that big shot. They could get to the free throw line. And this Missouri team would not be playing the way they are right now if it wasn't for the emergence of T.O. Barrett. And when they fell behind early, too, by 10 points, to have multiple scores now and not just playing through Mark Mitchell, which we saw in the non-con and early on, or I guess in the middle portion of SEC play, there was such a heavy reliance on him to be the guy. You have to play through him. You have to get to the free throw line. It's him one-on-one. It's him bullying people down low. Now that you have a true playmaking point guard, it makes games against Tennessee, and even for, 80% of the game against Arkansas, more doable than it was in the past. Because look at some of the top teams and all the power conferences out there. They have a playmaking point guard. They have somebody that can push in transition. And I thought last night, even at the beginning of the game, and certainly late in the game, who could Tennessee put on T.O. Barrett to stop him? There was nobody.
They tried when he went on that run. They tried 3 different defenders on him.
He just posted them up. He just bullied him a lot of times.
He's not a big guy either. Like
he's probably 6'4".
He's he's
a bigger guard.
He's 6'4". He plays a lot bigger than he looks on the court. And again, I'll say this, and people can come and tell me how dumb I am on Twitter or wherever else. But I said it last week. Maybe it's skin tone that is influencing my view on him, but I see portions of Jason Kidd in T.O. Barrett. When he's playing like that, you can't tell me that guy on the floor, posting guys up, physical to the rim, finishing many different ways, defending the way that he does, pacing the game.
Can rebound.
That's now, I'm not comparing him to one of the greatest point guards we've ever seen live. I'm saying there are versions of
Stylistically, he plays like Jason Kidd. Stylistically.
Yes. And at times in a game like that when he drops 28 and has 5 rebounds, and yes, that's what we would see from one of the best point guards that has ever lived and a guy that led California, in a tournament. But here's Dennis Gates after the game last night. We talk about them falling behind early, and Dennis Gates was asked about what happened early in the game for you guys to sort of get punched in the mouth and then recover.
I thought our guys got distracted with the physicality and the non-whistles early. They fought through it. They were able to calibrate their senses, so to speak, and understand you're only as physical as the game is allowed. And stay in the stance, keep your feet on the wood, on the ground, and then try to leverage and put your weight back on someone else. Once they got through that shock, they were able to, slowly, and not try to hit home runs. They were able to slowly get back in the game, and they did so with their defense and their IQs.
It's an interesting point about getting used to the physicality, one, but also getting used to how the officials were going to call that game.
Yes.
They were going to let the players play, and they were going to allow a decent amount of physical play and getting a little handsy and slaps on the arm and things like that. And Sterling, I know you were frustrated, but I thought there were some nice calls that went both ways. But Missouri was able to respond, and then they said, okay, so we get to play that way. And by the way, Anthony Robinson gets in the game, and Anthony Robinson is like, oh, coach, put me in the game. This is my kind of game. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I want to play call your own. I want to play prison rules.
Yeah.
No blood, no foul. Let's go. Put me in the game, coach.
Sean Phillips, T.O. Barrett, and Anthony Robinson just look at each other and go, okay, this is going to be fun.
This is our game, man. And by the way, Anthony Robinson got in and changed the tone defensively. He matched the physicality immediately.
Yes.
And they weren't calling fouls, which is fine, except for the time when Anthony Robinson played brilliant defense, guessed where Gillespie was going, beat him to the spot.
Yep.
Gillespie lost the ball and fell, so it must be a defensive foul on Anthony Robinson. I'm like, that was as good a defense as you could possibly play. Like, he knew exactly where he was going, beat him to the spot. The only difference is he didn't flop.
Well, so
had he flopped and flown backwards,
that's
boom,
my
going the other way.
frustration. So to me, when you play physical, that helps T.O., Mark Mitchell, and Anthony Robinson. And those are the 3 guys that took over. The issue is that Jaden Stone and Trent Pierce aren't physical guys. Trent Pierce is 6'10", 6'11", but he's fairly skinny.
Yeah.
And he hit a couple big threes because Missouri only hit 4 threes the entire. I mean, Jacob Cruz,
0 of 11.
nada. I mean, it was Trent Burns air ball. I mean, it was brutal for a little bit, but he hit a couple of big threes. But you see the physicality. Jaden Stone, The fact that Mizzou won with Pierce and Stone combining for 6 points is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, those are your two traditional outside threats, outside scorers, because T.O. is going to drive it, Mark Mitchell's going to drive it, and I'm surprised Missouri won with those guys scoring 6 total points.
Yeah, Jaden Stone not scoring even at all in the game was, and Missouri winning was a big surprise. But T.O. had himself his career game.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want to call it, coming out party for the rest of the country. If this was in the SEC tournament or the NCAA tournament, I think it probably would have been different, where people might have, might be talking about it a little bit more of what T.O. Barrett was able to accomplish. But, he's had some big games already where he had the 21 against Oklahoma in the first game that he was a starter, had the big game against A&M where he controlled the entire game. And like I said, he was sort of like the puppet master to a degree. He was just pulling the strings in the offense and all of that stuff. And but here is Dennis Gates talking about T.O.'s night and a follow-up in there about that late in the game stretch to where he just was dominant, down the floor every time, one-on-one, clear out, get everybody to the left and let T.O. go. Was that a matchup before the game? Was that in the game? So here's the answer by Dennis Gates about what last night meant for T.O. and how he got to that point and his growth, and then also specifically allowing him to just sort of cook.
The irony in it is that his name's T.O., right? But he plays hard, man, and sometimes you have to give kids and great players opportunity to take risk. He knows. He doesn't try to turn the ball over, and he wants those plays back. So what I love is that he doesn't sulk. He doesn't put his head down. He is a confident individual. And then if I say something, he'll be like, I got you, coach, because he knows what I'm going to say. There was some opportunities in the game, and most of those were play calls that we did. It was a call to post him up a couple times. It was a call to shift everybody on the left side of the court where he went one-on-one. It was a call where the gravity of Mark coming off the elbow screen opened up a double gap, and T.O. was able to time it perfectly and get downhill. Outside of that, these guys make plays, and the play that he wants back is the fadeaway that he settled for. And at that point, I knew he wasn't going to shoot another pull-up or settle. He was going to be able to get to his spots, and he did it perfectly. I'm proud of our guys for executing. I'm proud of them for executing down the stretch. Jacob Cruz came in, knocked down 4 free throws. We took care of the press break. I thought our guys were very intentional. And sometimes it's silver lining. If we don't go through lack of press breaking opportunities against Vanderbilt, what does tonight look like in a close game? I thought our guys learned the lessons that they needed to learn to be able to execute. I'm not happy about the second chance points against one of the best teams in our conference at doing such.
Coach, was T.O.'s matchup one you had circled coming into the game that you wanted to try to take advantage of, or was that more of an in-game reaction?
He didn't take advantage of it last game, and he knew what the scouting table simply because we knew that they were not going to foul. And I thought tonight, once he realized Gillespie wasn't going to foul, and then they switched and put Nader Mint on him, then they switched and put Bishop Boswell on him, I thought at that point his confidence just continued to grow. Mark took a back seat. Everyone took a back seat to allow T.O. to make sure he had the ball in his hands, and that's an unselfish team. That's a sign of a team that understands the game, but also a team that wants to win, and these guys did what they had to do to win the game.
So some of it was play calls.
Sure.
Some of it was just let him go. And a big portion of that was the team saying, he's on right now. We'll just defer to him and let him keep going. And then he took the bad shot, the fadeaway, and John Sunvoldy was like, that's a terrible shot. And it was, but that's the last time he took a shot like that.
Yeah.
He kept attacking, and his ability to finish was just brilliant. And I do love Dennis Gates. The irony is that his name's T.O.
I know,
and he's a point guard. And I do love then sitting up there, T.O. looking at him and go, Coach, chill. Chill out. And that relationship, by the way, watching the post-game press conference is really cool to see how Dennis Gates and the players, clearly there's a mutual respect there, and there's the players playing for that guy, and also, Dennis Gates saying, coming over to the sideline, and T.O. going, I got you. I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. This team has really, really improved, and he's a big part of it. And Sterling, unlike last year, the complaint of last year that I think a lot of Missouri fans had and analysts was, and not that Dennis Gates planned it this way, but they peaked mid-season.
Correct.
They peaked like early February, and then they never found that gear again.
Yep.
Doesn't this feel like they are ascending towards the tournament?
This is exactly what you want to see.
Yeah.
They've tried many things. They got Pierce and Stone back, which was huge. T.O. Barrett's now a starter over Anthony Robinson. By the way, Mark Mitchell, 20-plus points. That was fact.
You said 25-5, though.
I said 25-5.
I guess you did.
He still didn't get 25-5. But I said also, the fact or fiction with 20-plus points. He got 20-plus points.
Yeah.
Okay? Fact. It worked.
That is true.
But
you're right. I thought you said 25-5, but you said 25-5.
And I will also point out, we've seen Dennis Gates adjust. We've seen him learn. We saw the press break look a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you want to see is, okay, in what year is this for Dennis Gates now? 4?
This is year 4.
Year 4 for Gates.
Yep. Year 1, the loss in the second round. Year 2, no wins.
Yeah.
Year 3, Drake. Year 4.
So you want to see a coach improve. You want to see a coach learn from his mistakes. We knew Dennis Gates can recruit. Next year's recruiting class is exceptional. We know he can recruit. I think he's pretty good in the portal, getting Mark Mitchell from Duke to Missouri.
Helps that he's a KCK kid.
I get it, but the point is, so he still got him.
Yeah.
So we know he can do those things in the current landscape of college basketball, but can he coach in game? And he's answered the call. I think a lot of I'm not saying he's Bill Self. I'm not saying he's an elite.
Cut that just where you hear him say he's Bill Self.
I'm not saying that he's an elite guy yet, but we've seen improvements, and that's what you want to ask for. And by the way, game coming down to the wire. Mm-hmm. Free throws.
Yep, Jacob Cruz, shout out.
Jacob Cruz, who has struggled a lot since SEC play really started.
Yeah.
And he was 4-4 down the stretch, calm, collected, nailed them, and got to tip your cap to a guy who's struggled shooting the ball, but yet his number's called, and he makes all 4 free throws.
Yeah, he hasn't hit a 3 since February 11th when they beat A&M on the road. Is the last time Jacob Cruz hit a 3 in a game, and he was also, he was perfect that night. He didn't miss a shot. He made every single shot from the field, and he was also 4 of 4 from the free throw line that night.
Yeah, it was great.
They needed it because they ended up winning by 1 in that game. They needed him to play like that. But he has struggled. But also, you know what? And we'll take a timeout, and I want to play a couple of other clips that you could see the team liking each other, which matters. Because I do think a couple of years ago when that team went 0-19, they didn't look like a team that was having fun with the other guys on the floor. Kansas State the last couple of years hasn't looked like they've had fun with their teammates on the floor. Kansas, a couple of years in a row, didn't look like they were having fun with their teammates on the floor. This Kansas team, this Missouri team, looks like they love playing with their teammate. And this guy, let's just go out and we're having fun, and this is what makes basketball fun. And you can hear that in the postgame, a couple of clips that I want to play.
So you're saying Jerome Tang was right. Look what you can do when you play basketball out of love.
Isn't it amazing? It's amazing when Bill Self isn't just recruiting the Hunter Dickinsons of the world, that you put a team together that loves each other, that Mark Mitchell, a guy from KCK, plays the way that he does. T.O., it's amazing. Shout out those coaches that figured it out. I hope I will one day, but I'm about to get paid. More Zone next. All right, man, if you're out there and you were suffering from erectile dysfunction, then Heartland Men's Health is a spot for you to go and get that checked out. ED is something that can be caused by many different underlying conditions. Maybe it happened once, you laughed it off, no big deal, ha ha ha. Happened another time and another time, and now it's something that starts to build on itself, and it can cause depression and arguments and breakups and contribute to divorce. Heartland Men's Health is here to help. Maybe you've gone organically and tried the pills or the herbals and they have failed. Well, if that happens, Heartland Men's Health has treatments that work when that happens, and it's more of a holistic approach as well. It's not just a one-size-fits-all, hey, this is what's going on, well, here you go, here's a pill. No, it's specific to your individual and unique needs. They have treatments, in fact, with success rates well over 90%, and it's because of that individualized plan. Heartland Men's Health, successfully treating men in the Kansas City area. Schedule a consult with Heartland Men's Health today. Your initial visit, it's $99. That includes a medical consult with a licensed medical provider, a T and PSA test, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if the test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit, it's free. They have an expert staff with 3 locations to serve you: Overland Park, Independence between Blue Springs and Lee Summit, and North Kansas City. Call them today at 844-447-6600. Tell them you heard about it right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, or visit heartlandmenshealth.com. All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Let's play clip number 5 here because, we're talking a lot about T.O. Barrett and the big game last night from Mizzou. And clip number 5. But we're talking about T.O. Barrett. I want to talk about another player here, Trent Burns, in a second. But we've been talking a lot about T.O. Barrett and what Mizzou has done since T.O. was inserted into the starting lineup. And it was after the Georgia game that we had the conversation, and I said, you got to make the move. You can't have Anthony Robinson starting anymore. You have to put T.O. Barrett into the starting lineup. I didn't expect the very next game for that to happen, but I appreciate Dennis Gates listening in. Sup, Dennis? But wanted T.O. Barrett to be the starter. And they have been a much better team, efficient team, since he was placed as the starter, and he's become more and more and more confident along the way. Well, there was another player that wasn't getting any playing time.
Yeah.
And Northweather and Randall were getting playing time early. And the man is 7'5", and Trent Burns. And it was like, okay, Trent Burns is 7'5", but he can shoot. He can shoot threes. It's like, okay, cool. But if
Carter
you're
ran over.
Yeah, if you're 7'5", like, I'd like you to be able to go down and play some defense and rebound. And you could see early on, it's like, that's just, I don't know that that's ever going to be his game. He's just sort of weak. He's getting used to it. He's like a baby deer, figuring out how to use his height and at times athleticism, but also not sort of be pushed around in there. Well, it takes some time, and it takes some, you know what it takes? I think it takes some guts by Dennis Gates to say, you know what, this guy's got to play. And somehow he goes from playing like a total of 21 minutes in SEC play to then against Vandy, he's in there and plays 17 minutes. In a game you win by 1.
Yeah.
He's got to come in there and play 17 minutes and grab 7 rebounds. And he played well. He played big. Arkansas played 12 minutes. And then last night plays a career-high 18 minutes. 7 rebounds while he was in there. 4 steals.
Yeah.
4 steals. The quick hands of your 7'5" center. Also trying to throw over Trent Burns. And also when they played the drop defense on the screen and roll, when Trent Burns is back there as the drop, good luck throwing the lob. We saw them try to do it a couple times, and it wasn't successful. This team in December was playing without Trent Pierce, Jaden Stone, and Trent Burns. Guys who play now, let's just call it 15, 16 minutes a game at least, because Burns has played 47 minutes in 3 games. It's 15 minutes a game, 16 minutes a game, 15 and a half, whatever. 15.333, repeating, of course. Here's Dennis Gates talking about, he was asked about Trent Burns' maturity, especially in these last 3 games, that he's played 47 minutes in these 3 big SEC games where they've gone 2-1.
I think you all are seeing a kid grow up right before your eyes. Sometimes it takes off seasons, but when you see a kid through a season grow, it's glaring. It is special, and he's standing right back there right now, but I'm proud of him as he's blushing because I'm talking about him. But he's here to see his bestie, T.O. Barrett. But I'm proud of Trent's patience. I'm proud of his resolve. I'm proud of his toughness. And I'm proud of the production that he's been able to, in this long season, accomplish. Because some would have thrown in the towel by now and not been ready. And you have to have guys be prepared late in the game to sort of invigorate your team, and that's what Burns is doing for us.
In SEC play, he played a total of 32 minutes in the first 12 games, including 4 games where he saw 0 action in a game. Just a DNP CD, right? Not getting in the game. And it's such a difference maker that you can have when that guy's out there, because I think Sean Phillips might be the most healthy person in the world because he can't catch a cold. Might have the worst hands I've ever seen for a big man. But you need multiple guys. And I think that's where, my stupid, open night jokes about Sean Phillips he has his strengths and he has his weaknesses. Actually catching the ball and securing it is not a strength of Sean Phillips. Scoring around the rim, strength of Sean Phillips. Strength of Sean Phillips is a strength of Sean Phillips. But when you only had Sean Phillips, it forced the hand of Dennis Gates.
Yeah.
Now you have an option of a guy that the more he's going to play, it's just the more comfortable he's going to become. And I think it can't be overstated that when this team was playing in December, that again, and they were losing to Notre Dame, getting the doors blown off by Kansas, getting your doors blown off by Illinois, that you were without Pierce, Stone, and Trent Burns was still running like a baby deer.
Yes.
Out there. Those are huge difference makers in a game where Pierce is one of the purest, or as Mike Kelly would say, Trent Pierce, one of the purest shooters, and Jaden Stone can get hot. And Missouri got a new player last night, Jake Johnson, last night. I don't know why he
Related to Jack?
Maybe.
He kept calling. Maybe. Did you hear that? It was. I think it was Jaden Jones or no, Jack Jones. He kept calling James. He kept saying, and Jones with the rebound. Oh, missed shot by Jake Jones. Can't find it. Like I thought at some point, John Sunvold would just go, that's a shot that Jaden Stone typically makes.
Yeah, just
not one time did Sunvold do that. I'm like, when did they get this new player? But besides the point, to get to Trent Burns, it's been a player that I didn't even know existed.
Well, no, he stuck around, right? Because
he stuck around.
Last year he had the injury.
He was like an urban legend.
It was
like they've got the 7-foot guy that shoots threes, and he's not Victor Wembanyama, but you can tell he's the new age basketball player of 7'5", dribbles the ball up the floor, shoots threes. He's skinny, but he's going to develop and he's going to be a force. Okay, we'll see. Well, he's got the foot injury. Okay, we'll see it.
It's always good when a 7'5" guy's got a foot injury.
But those T.O. wasn't starting. Pierce, Stone, and Burns weren't even playing.
Well, and this is why, again, I go back to Dennis Gates. I mean, you can make the argument of, well, why didn't he know this to start the season? But the fact is, he adjusted and changed in season, and Missouri looked so much better. That matters. That, again, I had so many questions going into the season about Dennis Gates. So many questions. A lot have been answered. I'm not saying it's been phenomenal. I'm not saying that there's not still room for improvement, but there is improvement. Trent Burns is a big difference maker, although I do hate when he shoots threes because it does it looks fine off his hand. Like it is fairly smooth.
Nice. That's a you know what that was? That was Trent Burns. That was Trent Burns coming up with idea. Don't shoot threes.
Idea.
I've got it.
Idea. They're leaving you open for a reason. Idea.
Ding.
You're 1 of 11 from 3. They're leaving you open there.
That was awesome, man. I want to play a couple. There's 2 clips I want to play that sort of shows the fun that the team is having, as we talked about going to break in the previous segment about these 2 local teams. Unfortunately, Kansas State doesn't look like that, but the 2 local teams look like they are just having fun, enjoying themselves out there on the floor. This clip number 3, let's play that one. This was a question to Mark Mitchell, was asked about the growth of T.O., and also, T.O. sort of asked about the growth, and Dennis Gates weighing in on T.O.'s game. But Mark Mitchell starts off when he was asked about what have you seen from T.O. this year and in his time as a Missouri Tiger.
I think his growth has been special, but I think he's just really talented, man. I mean, I remember when I was hurt in the summer, Coach Gates was watching him, he was killing in practice one day. I was like, man, he's special, like his pace, his cadence, and just with the size and athleticism he has, man, I've been a T.O. believer since day one. So, I mean, him having these performances like this is nothing I'm really surprised about. I'm just glad when he got his opportunity, he's really made the most of it.
Theo, how have you kind of grown to use your physicality in a sense of now you're able to pull you guys down and take 17 shots a night, make 12 of them? How have you kind of grown to feel more comfortable using that?
T.O. is just now growing facial hair. So he's grown up.
Forget what he said, bro. To be honest, I feel like it comes throughout the season. I kind of learn from every game I play, and I feel like I get more comfortable with every game I play. So just these past like 6-7 games is kind of where I feel like I'm growing the most. I'm learning off of every single game, and I'm learning where I can get to my spots and where I can be physical and basically stuff like in the past I wasn't as physical. I wasn't using my body as much, and you can just see me doing that now on the court, and I feel like it's looking good.
So, again, you see the Dennis Gates and T.O. Barrett relationship because, as he said earlier, the irony is that he's named T.O. and then T.O. Coach chill. And then that one was, he's just growing some facial hairs. Stop. Stop. Forget what he just said. Come on, Coach.
Yeah.
And the laughing, and Dennis Gates going, he's just now growing facial hair, and then elbowing Mark Mitchell, like, joking with T.O. But he also mentioned, Dennis Gates did, that when he was talking about Trent Burns saying, oh, he's back there blushing, he's here to see his bestie in T.O. Well, before the press conference got over, they asked for one more question. Somebody who was very noticeable in the back, maybe 7'5", decided he wanted to grab the microphone. This is clip number 7. Question included to T.O. Barrett. Or clip number 6. Sorry, clip number 6. Yeah, that's my bad. Clip number 6. Here's T.O. Barrett being asked a question by 7'5" bestie.
Question for T.O. You've shown a lot of flashes and a lot of growth over these past 2 years. And some may say you reached flow state. What allows you to get into the state that you were in, just getting downhill? It was really nice to see.
I feel like just my boys on the sideline cheer me on. You know what I'm saying? Instilling that confidence in me. Right. And then that's
what about your coaches, bro?
My boys on the sideline cheer me on.
All right. No play calls?
No, I'm chilling.
No play calls? Okay.
Yeah.
No play calls.
Yeah, I got Coach calling plays for me now.
Thank you.
It feels amazing. So, along with my boys cheering me on, I got Coach calling plays, and it instills confidence in me, and then you see me on the court in flow state. So
I love flow state too. It's nice.
Appreciate it.
I love flow state, T.O. T.O., what your growth to allow you, some would say you're in flow state. I don't know what flow state is, but apparently that's what T.O. was in that second half when he was going at him. And again, you see the camaraderie and the joking when T.O. says, well, it's about my boys cheering me on the sideline, and Dennis Gates going, not the coaches calling plays. Like I said, it's about the boys cheering me on the sideline, and Dennis Gates going, okay, all right. Okay.
And the coaches
all right,
calling
let's
plays.
See. Okay, all right, we'll see about that. So it's easier to have that much fun when you're winning and you win the game, but it also shows the fun that they are having on the floor, that a mistake by somebody isn't, here you go again, this guy again. Unbelievable, man. This guy, why is he even on the floor, dude? And it's everybody sort of enjoying the other person out there. And again, it just feels like this team hasn't got to their ceiling because T.O. hasn't been consistently at that level, and you can't expect him to be consistently at that level, but he's had some up and down games. Great against A&M, then turning around and struggling against Texas. Awesome against Vandy, struggled against Arkansas. Awesome against Tennessee. We'll see what happens at Mississippi State.
I think
coming up this weekend.
He understood what he did wrong against Arkansas of not using his body, and he used his body a lot. Again, he is 6'4". He's a point guard who is strong and physical. When he gets downhill and posts you up, when he uses his body, because his body control is exceptional, it's almost all over if there's a smaller guy on him. Because he can jump high, he's athletic, even the running little hook late in the game.
Oh my God, dude, that was unbelievable,
beautiful.
And I know he's athletic, but I will say the inbound pass that got away from Tennessee that ended up being a breakaway for T.O.
Dude,
I didn't expect him to rise like that.
He threw the ball down, right?
Was it like, oh, you throw it down at the dunk?
No, it's like he threw the ball,
got up so high that it was almost like he was looking at the rim,
correct.
right at it.
I was shocked by that.
They even said at the SEC Network after the game was over, I didn't know he had that athleticism in him. I didn't know he did that. And then he tried for the one-handed oop that Ament ended up blocking, but that would have brought the house down. But this team, when they're playing like that, is a lot of fun. When T.O. Barrett is playing like that, they can beat a lot of teams. When T.O. Barrett is playing like that, because they've got shooters on the outside, they've got Mitchell inside, they've got big men he can lob it up to, he can finish inside. Again, I've said that, I think T.O. Barrett is the key to the season, and I know Mark Mitchell has to play his game, but I think there's an expectation of what you get from Mark Mitchell night in and night out.
Agreed.
If he's not scoring, he's assisting to other guys. If they're not doubling him, he's going to the rim and finishing, and he's been knocking down his free throws.
He'll impact the game.
Right. T.O. playing like Arkansas when he got in his own head, Missouri's going to struggle against a lot of teams because it can't be Anthony Robinson leading the team. It has to be Anthony Robinson coming off the bench, setting a tone defensively, scoring when called upon, and T.O. being the point guard leader. We'll take a timeout. We'll wrap up this hour. Coming up at 11 o'clock, Ruben Bain. We hear from him at the Combine. Todd Lebo there. We hear from Ruben Bain coming up at 11 o'clock. More Zone next. All right, wrapping up this hour. We'll talk some football. Talked a lot of basketball there, obviously, with Mizzou's big win. They've got 3 games left in SEC play, 4 games guaranteed. Hopefully, there's an extra game after at least 1 game guaranteed in the SEC tournament. Last night went a long way in helping that happen. But 2 winnable games on the road at Mississippi State, at Oklahoma, and then home to Arkansas. Find a way to go 2-1 in those games. You got 11 wins in SEC play, and if you were to go to Nashville and win a game there, they're absolutely in the tournament. Last night was a big one. We'll talk some NFL football on the other side of the break. We'll hear from, we'll see if he's there at number 9. That'd be great. Ruben Bain. We know he's there in Indy, and we hear from him next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Jack Johnson hanging out with us, Michael Darcy. We head up until 2 o'clock. We will talk with Daniel Harms coming up at noon, RGR Football and Bleacher Report. Does a great job covering the draft and the Kansas City Chiefs, and so we'll talk with him coming up at noon, get his thoughts on, I don't know, maybe some things going on with the NFL Combine right now. I don't know. We'll find out what we talk with Daniel Harms about. Reuben Bain is a guy that a lot of us have wanted the Chiefs to draft. In fact, we wanted the Chiefs to blow for Bain. That was at least the hope.
You wanted to blow for Bain.
I would have. Yes, that's right. I wanted the Chiefs to blow for Bain. Once they started losing, and they were out of the playoffs, and Mahomes was injured. At that point, you blow for Bain. Lose as many games possible. See if you can get close enough to be able to at least be in reach of blowing for Bain.
And I said next year get hard for Hardy.
Like that
Jack,
one.
you like one? You have one?
I mean, but
I get a T-shirt of that. Both of them, actually.
But I think if you do what you had said to do for Hardy, I feel like that you go and win games, right?
Oh, yeah, of
Not
course.
blowing.
Yeah. That's what I said. You get hard for Hardy.
Interesting. Okay, so anyway, Reuben Bain and the defensive line and linebackers and place kickers are meeting with the media today, and our very own Todd Lebo there in Indianapolis. Reuben Bain at the podium. Do we know what the question was to Reuben here, or just you've listened to it? So do you have a good lead in to throw to the clip?
I listened to the first 10 seconds, but I don't think Lebo is the one that asked the question. It was more about.
Nope, Lebo gets credit. Lebo asked the question.
He got the audio.
Okay, so here's Reuben Bain talking about something that probably is Chiefs related and the draft coming up.
What have been your interactions with the Kansas City Chiefs, and what would it mean to play on the defensive line?
Interactions was real good. I felt like I had a real strong interview to play on that team, just in general with all the history they had in the previous years. And since I was growing up, what I could see was a blessing.
Roy, how much of a topic has arm length been, and what you apply to all the outside
none of the teams seem to be too concerned with it, as long as I just talk the talk and walk the walk, play with technique. Nobody really asked me about it.
Why you feel like you're the best player in this class?
Just because of my mindset, how I prepare myself day in and day out, how I stay in the building at all times, how I'm working day in and day out, and being the player that I am.
What do you want teams to know about you that they haven't already seen on tape when you meet with them this week? And what's your interaction like with players?
To know about me, that I eat, sleep, and breathe football. That's all I do. I don't have no other hobbies, no other real interests outside of football. That's all I care for. That's all I want to do. And the Bengals, like I said, was great. I was going in with the right mindset to kill all interviews. I prepared myself the right way throughout these last 3 to 4 weeks. And I had the right mindset to just go in and give my best foot forward, and that's what I did.
Mindset of killing all the interviews. So hopefully the Chiefs survived, because I can imagine that Reuben Bain. Here's the thing. He plays a certain way that if he said, I want to kill all interviews, I might take him literally, because I feel like that's how he plays, is like, I kind of want to kill the person in front of me. Here's the thing. I'm going to go through this guy. If he survives, that's fine. If he doesn't, also, what are you going to do? Sort of my job to get to the quarterback, and this guy was in the way, and that's his fault. He should have got out of the way.
I was born in the backfield. You merely adopted it.
That's right. He said he had a good interview with the Chiefs. We kind of assumed the Chiefs would meet with Reuben Bain. He loves football. That's all he does. Football.
I like that part.
Eats, breathes, drinks football. He may actually eat footballs. I'm not sure. I would like them to blow for Bain.
Is it a football or cake? He's like, I don't care. I'm eating it.
Is it cake? I will certainly throw a party with cake if they were able to draft.
But you know what?
Bain.
I do like that. I know it's a very silly thing, but it's not like, yeah, I love video games in my free time. Kyler Murray, I love racing cars in my free time. No, you don't like. You don't like cars. I like skiing. Dangerous. I like basketball. No, you don't. We don't want any extracurricular activities that might cause injury. You can maybe build Lego, but if you build Lego, be careful. Don't step on them, right? This is the concern. He eats, breathes, and drinks football. Yes.
Love it.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything you hear from that, Jack? He met with the Chiefs. We know that. Like, at least we know that now. Brett Veach said yesterday they had some interviews with some players that, going into an interview process, you don't know what to think, and maybe you've got some ideas of what a player might.
You just sit there and do nothing. You don't watch a show. You don't cook.
Watch his film, Jack.
Maybe. I don't know. I never. Anytime somebody says they don't have a hobby other than their sport, I'm like, come on, you absolutely do something else. But no, that's not really the point we're trying to make here. What I do think is important, because the Chiefs hold interviews with a lot of these guys, and they haven't picked top 10 in a very long time. And they've taken some people in the past in day 2 or day 3 where sure they probably interviewed them. And I'm not sure they had glowing interviews, but you go, we're drafting late second round, we're drafting late first round. He doesn't have to have the perfect interview because it is basically a day 2 pick when you're picking last in the first round. We want to make sure this guy has the talent, the intangibles. If he's an introvert, if he doesn't answer the questions the best of his ability, so be it. This is different. You're taking someone top 10 that might be a cornerstone piece of your defensive line, your wide receiver room, your running back room, wherever you go with this. And they do have to pass with flying colors in every aspect. They got to look good at the combine. They have to answer the questions properly. They have to get along with front office personnel. You have to trust that this guy can be the perfect pick for you. Because you're hoping you never pick this high again in the Patrick Mahomes era. You never want to be back top 10 unless you move a lot of picks to move up in the draft. But other than that, you want to be drafting late first round. And a way to get back there is if you hit on this pick. And so for the small snippet we got from Ruben Bain, I love to hear the confidence. Now, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors when it's just them and him in the room. But that's something you want to hear from a defensive lineman, of just this tenacity of, even though I joked about it, all I care about is football. It's almost that red dot that you have on the quarterback of, that's all I focus on. Now, you want to be a smart heads-up defensive lineman, but to have that drive, to have that confidence, if he's there at 9, there's nobody else I want in this draft than Ruben Bain.
100%. And that's where the Mel Kiper mock draft that came out yesterday or Monday, whenever it was, that he released his latest mock draft, that at number 9, the Chiefs take Jeremiah Love, and at number 10, the Bengals take Ruben Bain. I mean, I might protest outside One Arrowhead Drive or wherever they're having the draft party, or go to Pittsburgh. Like, get in the car and just start driving to Pittsburgh.
I'll
if
probably
they pass,
be there, so you can just forward the message.
Absolutely. If they pass, you just going to hang out? You going to cover it for us?
I think I'm going to cover it for us.
Yeah, look at you, Michael. Putting his big boy pants on.
How many yards would all-purpose or all offensive yards, because when he's probably going to be a kick returner, punt returner, would Love have to have for it to be a good pick at 9? Would it have to be 1,500? 1,700?
If he was a 1,500 guy.
1,000 yards rushing, 500 yards receiving.
Man, if he did that based on the last couple of years, even if Ruben Bain was a 10 sack guy in year 1, I'd feel pretty good about having a 1,500 all-purpose yards guy.
But I think here's the thing. And this is where positional value comes in, and it's why I think Brett Veach landed the plane in the answer when he said at the end, well, it also comes back to best player available, right? I think he was answering the question, and then how do I land the plane? Where's the dismount here? Okay, there it is. And it always comes back to best player available. Ruben Bain, Jeremiah Love, and the debate that people will have a lot, and maybe David Bailey there. I doubt it. But it is the point that Brett Veach made when he said, we're drafting 31, 32. It's like, man, I wish we could be 24, 25. And now we're drafting number 9, and you're like, man, I wish we could be 4 or 5. Because you probably have a pretty decent feeling if you're drafting 4 or 5 that maybe you're going to get Bain or Bailey. It's probably what he's thinking. If we draft 4 or 5, Bain or Bailey is going to be there for us, because Mendoza's going. And now if you're drafting 4, you would just need one of either 2 or 3 to not take Bain or Bailey. And boom, then they're going to be there. That would be great. But you're drafting 9th now. And as this team enters free agency and gets closer to it, and the moves that they'll make, Trey Hendrickson is available. But how much is it going to cost for Trey Hendrickson? What percentage of the 1,500, because I think that's what you'd be looking at with Jeremiah Love. Like, he has to be a true difference maker on the field offensively, that it's like, let's just hand the ball off, man. He's got light boxes, and the guy averaged 9 yards per carry at Notre Dame against light boxes. And that seems to be all the defenses run against the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes' light boxes. Boy, he is going to absolutely eat. All right, 1,500 yards, like legit. 1,500 total yards.
Yeah,
and,
again, not
and like,
just the ground. I'm talking 1,500.
Yeah, that's fine.
11 and 4.
Yeah. But what percentage of that can you get from a player in free agency versus what Reuben Bain or David Bailey would offer to the defensive line, and what percentage of that could you get in free agency, and what's that going to cost you to get that in free agency? And that's where it's like ETN compared to Jeremiah Love. Yes, there's a difference. Okay, I think Jeremiah Love's a better player than Travis Etienne. He's also 6 years younger than Travis Etienne and has less, tread on the tires.
And also maybe because Etienne had a really good year last year.
He did, but he's also a guy that's battled injuries in his career. And again, he's 27 years old. He's one of the oldest of these particular running backs that are available. But also, like, who's the defensive end that's going to come in and play and offer the sack ability of a Bailey on the edge, or Bain and the versatility of playing outside and inside, that's not going to cost you $30 million on the free agent market to go and get, when we're talking about ETN or Algier/Gainwell combined.
Sure.
We're looking at $7 or $8 million, and that version of, can that guy get to 1,200 total yards? Okay, now you're talking about 300 fewer yards than Jeremiah Love, whereas for $8 million per year, which is what you're paying the number 9 pick in the draft.
Correct.
So you're paying Jeremiah Love that money.
It's
as opposed to the defensive end, defensive line, interior defensive line, Peter Woods, whoever it might be, a guy that can cause havoc on the defensive line.
It's just accounting, and I'm accounting on the Chiefs to make the right decision here. I do think around 12 to 20 is where you can somewhat get at least year one production for Bain. Now we expect Bain to grow, right? We expect Bain to grow into a potential star. I think we all are on the same page there. Again, not saying Myles Garrett, but we're saying an upgrade even over someone like, let's say, George Karlaftis. Let's say a double-digit sack guy is what we're expecting Bain to be. I think you're looking at least at year one guys who could fill that role of maybe 7 sacks-ish. That'd be a great rookie season for a defensive lineman, right? I think we can all agree 7 sacks as a rookie, that's pretty damn good. I think the Kwity Pays, the Boye Mafes, the Oways, those guys can all fit into that equation, and probably anywhere from 12 to 20 million is what those guys are going to go for. Now, you can say Hendrickson, but he's 30. The Chiefs aren't in that water. I do think the Chiefs are in the Boye Mafe Kwity Paye water, and I do think Kwity Paye makes a lot of sense as a run stopper as well. Now, that's a known quantity. That's a second contract, and that's a guy who I think year one might be as good as Bain, but I don't think years 2, 3, 4, and then eventually 5 for Bain. I think we're all going to take him, we think, over Kwity Paye. And by the way, Kwity Paye is probably going to get around $15 million a year.
Right.
That's nearly double the rookie contract of Bain.
And that's, but also typically what the Chiefs will do is, if you're saying Reuben Bain's going to be better year 2 or 3 than what you would get out of Kwity Paye year 2 or 3, what happens with Chiefs salary cap contracts? Year 2 and 3 is when the cap starts to hit.
Yeah.
So now you're saying you're going to have a diminishing player, or a player that is not up to the level of a number 9 pick defensive lineman whose contract is set in terms of what, and you can adjust the cap hit different ways, obviously, the way you want to do that. But the Chiefs typically will take more of a cap hit later on in that contract, as opposed to, okay, well, now this draft pick at number 9 is going to be better as he develops in year 2 and 3, and be less than what you were going to pay for a guy who isn't going to be as good in year 2 or 3.
Still want Kwity Paye, by the way. I would still like Kwity Paye and Casey.
But you could do both.
I would like both.
You could absolutely do both. I don't need to do both, like draft Jeremiah Love and sign ETN.
That'd be absurd.
But I can do both in signing Kwity Paye or Boye Mafe and drafting Reuben Bain or Peter Woods. I can do something like that.
Correct.
Well, I go back to as well, when you're picking at 9, like if you go running back with Jeremiah Love, that's the only running back they would take with that spot. You can't get a game-changing edge rusher in day 2. It's not possible. There's not going to be enough depth at that position to go get an edge rusher in day 2 or day 3 and expect them to have the same impact David Bailey or Ruben Bain would. I also look at what both positions would bring to this team. I think having an elite edge rusher changes the defense. Where we have to go back to offensively, it's a Patrick Mahomes offense. And he's won Super Bowls with Isaiah Pacheco as his running back, with Damian Williams as his running back. He's gotten to multiple Super Bowls without a premier number one. And I'm not saying it's not an issue. I think that we have maybe overblown how the running back position's current state is because of how terrible Isaiah Pacheco was last year, where you can go get somebody in day 2 as a running back. We see it all the time in the NFL. Day 2, day 3 finds Monungai for Chicago.
Yeah.
When they
7th
grab
round.
him, 7th round. I mean,
After Brashard Smith, by the way.
Yeah, and I wouldn't advocate getting your solution to the running back position in the 7th round. I'd rather go day 2 or free agency like Breece Hall, Travis Etienne. I just think you're going to be kicking yourself if you go, even if Jeremiah Love is great. That defensive line, they need somebody that can be a game changer, a game wrecker. And if you want Chris Jones to continue having production late into his career, you got to have somebody that needs either help on the edge, like they have to double team on the edge so it can leave Chris Jones one-on-one, because Charles Omenihu wasn't doing that. George Karlaftis might be able to get the quarterback. He must lead the league in history of getting to the quarterback or getting around him and not getting a sack, getting a pressure. You need somebody that blows somebody up off the snap and destroys the quarterback. And Ruben Bain and David Bailey can do that. I would still have fun with a Jeremiah Love pick because it's always a sexy and exciting pick to get a skill player, but you need an edge rusher. And you can still get, who knows, maybe an 1,000-yard rusher in day 2. There's going to be depth there where when it comes to a defensive line position, you don't have a day 1 starter in day 2. You could have a day 1 starter in day 2 with the running back.
The point you bring up about Chris Jones, and I think the entire defensive line needs an overhaul. And again, I'll continue to say my philosophy as we go into free agency and the draft, my philosophy on defensive line is if you think you have enough, get one more. It's always going to be my philosophy with defensive line. I'm always going to have the philosophy that if you take an offensive lineman in day 1 or day 2, I'm not going to complain, especially with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. The newer philosophy, because of what we've seen with the bloated, inflated wide receiver contracts for even wide receiver 2s, if you took a wide receiver in the first day or 2, I'm not going to complain because you're seeing that become such a higher market in free agency and what these teams and are paying wide receivers. And we thought Tyreek Hill's going to want $30 million. Okay, no, thank you. Well, I mean, in 2, 3, 4 years, when the salary cap's going to be up to $330 million, you're going to be talking about a $40 million wide receiver, $45 million wide receiver that's out there. So there's different strategies to go along with it, which is why it would be great if they had multiple or more, I should say, top 100 picks. So you can say, we'll take an offensive line, we'll take a wide receiver. It's what we're going to do every single year. But the Chris Jones point on what he has left on his contract, his age, what he has left as a player. He's going to be 32 when he goes to training camp. But that defensive line was god-awful last year. And Steve Spagnuolo has built his defenses, the NASCAR and all of that stuff, not from the back to the front. He built it with the defensive lines and the game wreckers. Not he's got great corners that can cover so you can get cover sacks. So he can blitz everywhere with these great slot corners and safeties. While the defensive line is just okay, he's blitzing his ass off, and he's got this guy going there. They have no idea where the blitz is coming from. He's a mad scientist. Or let's just put 4 guys out there, and we've even got defensive ends that are lining up over a guard, and let's just go get the quarterback and drop 7. Yeah. That's pretty fun, too. That seems to be more in line of what Spags has done before and how you stopped the Patriots' undefeated season. You didn't stop them because you guarded for 7 or 8 seconds in the secondary. You stopped them because you wreaked havoc on the offensive line or line of scrimmage. You dominated the line of scrimmage in that game. The Chiefs in 2023 won the Super Bowl. We know that, against the San Francisco 49ers. 2024 they lost. 2025, they did not go. The Chiefs have a total of like 70 sacks the last 2 years. They had 57 in 2023.
Yeah.
So let's not act like, boy, it's really just about pressuring the quarterback. If you could just pressure the quarterback, they had 39 in 2024. And this past season, they had, come on, let's go, internet, let's go. Come on. Let's go. Here we go.
36.
Here we go. Last year?
I'm going to guess 36.
I'm guessing 36. Last year they had, you dumbass, 33. 72? 72 sacks the last 2 years combined. They had 57 in 2023.
And by the way, how many are by the defensive line? And that's also a good question, too, because Spags has to send a lot of extra pressure. And, what's a little interesting by this, a lot of the same guys from 23 until last year are on the same defensive line now. The issue is they almost all regressed. They stuck with the same guys, and that's what happens when you don't get younger. That's what happens when you don't have an injection of talent. That's what happens when you, I'm not saying resting on your laurels. That's what happens when you go, well, we're fine. They did it a couple years ago. They'll all bounce back. Well, they didn't. They counted on Charles Omenihu to be the 2023 version. He was not. They counted on Mike Dannon to be that version. He was not. Carl Loftus and Chris Jones, sure, same guys. But you look back, and I guess Tershawn Wharton was the difference, maybe. And that would have been 24, not even 23. I mean, what was the difference on the defensive line? How many players were different? Who was the guy that had all the sacks from 23 to 25?
So, in talking about Chris Jones and that defensive line, well, what does Chris Jones have left? Okay. Jack saying this, brought it in my mind about, revamping that defensive line. And you're paying Chris Jones a lot of money. Wouldn't you like to get the most value out of all that money that you're paying him? Well, there certainly is value with him attracting the offensive blocking scheme and opening it up for other guys. That'd be great. But the value could also be, how do you get this guy one-on-one? Well, okay, you put other guys around him that can also go and win one-on-one. After the bye last year, in the final 8 games of the season, going into the bye, they had played 9 games. And he had 2 sacks and 5 quarterback hits at the bye. 2 sacks, and he had hit the quarterback 5 times at the bye.
Yeah.
Coming out of the bye week, 8 games, 5 sacks, 17 quarterback hits. They didn't trade for some stud defensive end.
Yeah.
Chris Jones just simply turned it on.
It was noticeable. I mean,
he was a difference maker. He looked like younger version Chris Jones. Was that, I think the question, Sterling, would be, was that somebody who's at the end of his career sort of giving it everything and emptying the tank there? Or was that somebody that's still showing, I can still do this, and I'm needed to do this, and even with a crappy surrounding cast, I'm able to do this and dominate?
Yeah, I think it's 2. I don't think it was him emptying the tank. I think part of it was the realization of, oh bleep, we're gonna miss the playoffs, and no one's stepping up. I gotta do even more than I really ever have. Because I thought those last, I don't know, again, like 7-ish games of the season, I thought Chris Jones was excellent. I thought he was incredible.
He was awesome against Indianapolis, and he had no sacks.
Yeah, I mean,
and no quarterback hits in that game.
I mean, I really do think Chris Jones, that last tail end of the season, again, it's a bummer that it coincided because he had a couple of games early in the year where if he would have played like that, the Chiefs probably win those games. I mean, obviously Jacksonville comes to mind, and the Chargers come to mind as well, probably to an extent. But again, point still remains. Chris Jones shows that there's still a lot left in the tank. His run defense was the worst of his career last year. His pass rush ability, though, was still, I think, excellent. But you're right. He just needs, and again, people want to always compare him to Aaron Donald. The issue is you're comparing him to the greatest defensive tackle of all time. I mean, like, can we not? Can we get? It's just he's not that.
Yeah.
But he's incredible and a Hall of Famer, and everyone needs. If DeForest Buckner was playing with no one around him, when did DeForest Buckner look the best? When he was on the 49ers with all those guys around him. When did Chris Jones look the best? Well, yeah, when he has other guys and supporting casts around him because he was getting one-on-ones.
Last 8 games would have been, coming out of a full season, 11 sacks and 36 quarterback hits with pretty much nobody else on the defensive line except him and Carl Loftus being a real, energy, motor guy.
There were so many games last year, too, where I'm not trying to say the running back, or the inefficiencies of the running back position didn't impact the game, but how many of those close losses was because they couldn't get a stop? They couldn't get any pressure on the quarterback. Dallas comes to mind on Thanksgiving. Yeah. They're just marching down the field. Yes, some of that was not being able to hang with great receivers in the secondary. Some of that was that you just didn't have anybody in the backfield. Denver, even though the defense had its moments, couldn't get out the field. Why? Because Bo Nix can sit back there, and I will tell you this, that it doesn't have to be Josh Allen or Matt Stafford or anybody. If you are a average quarterback and you've got time to throw, you're going to be able to make the throw. You're going to be able to pick up chunk yardage. And the Denver game, the Dallas game, the Jacksonville game, the Chargers game, the Texans game, even though the defense might have had their moments, I always view it when the Chiefs are going into places where they have tough defenses, it's so much harder to win. Yeah, I'm not saying that it's easy to go beat a team that can light it up offensively, but if you go into an environment where you're dealing with an elite pass rush, how much harder is it to win that game? I mean, it's incredibly hard.
Ask Patrick.
Ask Patrick, absolutely. When we see that offense constantly scrambling.
Ask Drake May, dropping 7 and bringing 4.
Yeah.
Not blitzing.
It alters the game. It absolutely alters the game. And that's why with the running back position, I mean, yeah, seeing Isaiah Pacheco run the wrong way for a screen in New York, him run straight into a lineman's ass over and over and over again.
But he gets up really quick, though.
He gets up, and yeah, it's awesome to see. And really, I would say that matters. Yes, the offense is going to matter here, but you can find value and get a 800-yard rusher, maybe 4.5 yards per carry in free agency or day 2 in the draft. If you can add Ruben Bates, and he's what everybody thinks, or Bailey, and he's what people are saying he's going to be, think about all those games where the Chiefs need that one stop, and you've got somebody that is just whooping the left tackle or the right tackle, and then Chris Jones on the interior. Now Karlaftis can start playing better. Now maybe a guy like Felix Enrique-Uzama can develop a little bit better because he gets those opportunities of one-on-ones. With the running back position, I mean, even if you have a great running back, how often the Chiefs going to run the ball? 15 times a game?
Well, this has been the pushback I've given for a while now. I think we should know better than other organizations what works. 2018, they did not win. 2018, the offense was incredible. The offense was phenomenal, but the defense was so darn bad. What did the Patriots do dynasty-wise for so long? They focused on offensive line and defense. Tom Brady can elevate wide receivers. Now, I'm not saying they never, ever went out, but it wasn't like Randy Moss was there all 20 years.
No, they turned a Kent State quarterback into Wes Welker.
And this is not...
Named Julian Edelman, but they turned him into the next Wes Welker.
And this is a little my point of...
Chad O'Shea did.
The great quarterbacks can elevate wide receivers. Now, again, you still need some talent. I'm not saying never focus on it and never draft a guy, never spend money on it, but you don't do what the Bengals did. To me, the Bengals have been the poster child of what not to do.
Yeah.
And they've had organizations to look at and say, well, what actually works? What actually makes a difference? Hell, even the Rams, when they got Matt Stafford, they did have a really good offense, don't get me wrong, with Cooper Kupp, but it was also the defense. It was Aaron Donald who took over that game because Mahomes can elevate guys. He can't elevate the defense. People are always like, give them weapons so they can score 35 again. Well, it's because they have to score 35 because the defense is giving up 33, right? There's the difference. So I think the reason why the Chiefs have been so successful in winning rings, 23 wasn't pretty.
No.
But guess what? Because the defense was good, the Chiefs have a ring.
Well, and you know, Mahomes can elevate guys. And there's the balance that we've talked about before of allowing him to, knowing he can elevate guys, but also allowing him to not have a game where 60 of the 72 plays are on Mahomes' shoulders. RPOs, checking in and out of plays at the line of scrimmage, knowing where everybody's going to be, just your regular drop back passes, and have it just be like, look, this is a run. We're going to run the ball, and this guy back here might break it for 25, 30 yards. It's like the joke when the Bills were playing the Broncos, and it was like, Josh Allen was Superman against the Jags. And then the next week, opening drive, James Cook was unbelievable. And the joke on Twitter was like, oh my God, did you see how amazing Josh Allen was handing the ball to James Cook? Like, wow, that was so amazing, Josh Allen watching James Cook go.
It's the right move.
Right. And so it's like he has that guy. Mahomes does not. But the balance of invest in the offensive line, put some pieces around Mahomes. He can't just do it with me, you, and Jack and Michael Darcy.
Dupree.
That's exactly right. Dupree might be able to do it, okay, because it's not the bike, all right? But this defense, when they have 57 sacks in 2023 and then 39 in 2024 and 33 last year, the defensive metric that's starting to come into vogue but came in more last year was defensive saves, which is you protect a one-score lead in a win. The Chiefs were literally the only team last year that did not have a defensive save. and they had 4 blown leads in the fourth quarter that resulted in losses. So while the offense was an issue, certainly they have to worry about the offense.
They were Bradledge, mostly good, and all of a sudden Pujols comes
Yes.
up, game on the line, and that thing is it's still going. It's like the old Josh Gibson. It landed in a different state.
Right, and they had 23 where they would get stops and stops and stops, and the offense couldn't come through, but the defense would get a stop. And the offense 4-minute drill had to punt, defense would get a stop time and time again. The defense wasn't good enough for the offensive inefficiencies. The offense wasn't good enough for the defensive inefficiencies. Both sides of the football weren't playing in concert with the other when they were in 22 and 23, when they were the number one offense and the defense did what they had to do in the second half against the Eagles. And not the number one offense, still top 10, but the defense was pretty damn good.
How many rings do they have when they were the offensive focus team?
2.
Well, I'd say 1. And how many do they have when they were balanced?
Well, balanced was 19, offense more was 22, and then defense was more 23. So I think they kind of have 1 apiece, you know? I mean,
fair.
19 feels more balanced because that defense really turned it on in the second half with Spags, with all the new guys. 22, they were the number one offense, and the defense still gave up 35 points to the Eagles in the Super Bowl.
Sure.
And 23 was pretty much a defensive team that Mahomes just said, how do I play off the defense and do enough by being Patrick Mahomes? Again,
it might not be as sexy, but the point remains, if you want to win, I don't think it's not always defense wins championships, but defense helps you win championships when Mahomes is your quarterback.
Right, and that's sort of the point. That's what they did in 23. They realized they weren't going to be the 2022 offense. So how do you do it with this group to win? Well, this defense is awesome. So doing it with that group to win, defense is sacking the quarterback. The secondary is great. McDuffie in the slot. You've got 2 guys on the outside that can cover. This team is fun. Snead's on the team. Justin Reed, Brian Cook's rookie year, although late in the season is when he got injured. But McDuffie in the slot, and Watson's playing well, and Williams is coming out of nowhere. Like, you got a 4th and a 7th rounder rookies that are there, and intercepts Joe Burrow in the championship game. But you're all over the quarterback. And it was fun. It was fun. And the offense just had to go, it's their team.
Yeah.
What do we have to do to win, though? Okay, so they still had to score the last 2 possessions of the Super Bowl. They had plenty of possessions where they didn't move the football in that Super Bowl. But when it came down to it, they still had to take the ball at the end of the game and put at least 3 points on the board. And then take the ball in overtime and put at least 3 points on the board. Instead, they put 9.
Yeah.
They put 9 points on the board to win that game. Defense got a stop and then held them to a field goal, and the offense did their part in winning that game. Last year, or 2024, didn't come together, and especially in the Super Bowl, which is, by the way, I say didn't come together. They made the Super Bowl. So 2024 was probably the last sort of holding it together of the team sort of leaning on each other. And last year we saw it just fall apart, as my kids would say.
It did.
It just fell apart is what it did. Defense couldn't make up when the offense wasn't there. The offense couldn't make up when the defense gave up the lead. It happens. Now what do you do? We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from Brett Veach. I'm surprised that one of Brett Veach's comments has turned into a commentary around this Chiefs team in a move that I think is one of the most obvious moves that they're going to make, that people think Brett Veach's comment means they're going to go the opposite. We'll explain next. All right, let's hear from Brett Veach. He talked yesterday, but I thought this was just a comment that general managers give when they talk about, sort of the salary cap. This is going to be clip number 7, Michael. I thought that, it's sort of, it felt, kind of benign to me when asked about different players. And, the Michael Dana question about, releasing him. Juwan Taylor was asked about, in that question. And, he had talked about how Mike Dana was in the building and everything, and that's how, that sort of came about. And then he said he was asked about Drew Tranquill and things like that. But this answer from Brett Veach on the Chiefs' cap situation that they're looking at right now, that by releasing Mike Dana, they are now cap compliant if the league year were to start today. It doesn't, so they didn't have to be. But Dana was there, unfortunately for him. Let's listen to Brett Veach weigh in on the cap situation, and we'll talk about what I think has become an odd takeaway from this, that for some reason people think the plan for the last 3 years has now changed course based on this answer. Let's take a listen.
Our cap situation, I don't know if we're 6 or 7 over, but I think we have $60 million in convertible contracts too. So, we have many different ways to attack this, and I think that's the one thing that we've been good at. And we don't do a lot of money pushed out in the future years, and I think we run a pretty tight ship there. So this gives us flexibility to do different things. So, again, that's part of the process with all those guys, and we'll see how the scenarios shake out.
I'm surprised that became a discussion about, well, Brett Veach is now going to restructure Juwan Taylor, or they're going to keep Juwan Taylor. Doesn't that feel like a pretty big leap from, and he was asked about Juwan Taylor and Mike Dane in the cap situation, certainly. And that's when he goes in and talks about, well, the situation that we're in right now, we're sort of, 6 or 9, whatever it was, under the cap or over the salary cap right now. And then he says, we've got $60 million of convertible contracts, and that's just sort of how these things go, and we'll see how it all plays out. But that's the situation that we'll look at with all these guys. He's not going to come out and say, well, we're cutting Juwan Taylor.
Yeah.
We're going to release him because, come on, guys, nobody here is dumb. We all know the case, and we know that, this was always going to be a 3-year deal anyway. Even if he's amazing, we could maybe adjust it, but we're not going to have Jalen Moore, Esapole on our team and then say, let's restructure Juwan Taylor to have him for 2 more years, or, not just simply release him and save $20 million against the cap. I guess I'm sort of surprised that comment grew into, hold on, is Juwan Taylor going to be back next year? And what can they do with Juwan Taylor's contract? Juwan Taylor, I would be floored if Juwan Taylor is back next year. It seems like the most obvious $20 million you save right now.
Yeah, I guess the only question would be then, I guess, this is me playing the other side here.
Yeah,
So I'm
fine.
with you. The other side would be, well, do you like him $12 million more than Jalen Moore?
No.
Because that's what it basically comes down to is, do you like Juwan $12 million more than Jalen Moore? Because you could cut Jalen Moore, and you save about $8 million.
Yeah.
Because his cap hit's 18.5-ish. His dead cap's about 10.5-ish. So it's about $8 million. So do you like Juwan Taylor $12 million more than Jalen Moore? I think Juwan's better than Jalen Moore.
When he's not committing penalties, I think he's better
agree.
than Jalen Moore.
When your wife's not cheating on you, she does all these things great. Right.
Awesome.
That's
She's really
basically
cool.
what we're talking about when it comes to
That's right.
Juwan. He's great when it comes to penalties. Well, that's part of the equation here.
Yeah, that's right.
And so
my car is awesome when it starts.
And so it's, do you find, and that's the only thing you could possibly say is that would be the situation if they go, you know what, Jalen Moore didn't work out. We don't think he's a good fit. We got that one wrong. We think Juwan is $12 million better than Moore, and we can restructure. Okay, that is a possibility. Again, that's just me playing the other side. I still don't see that working out, because even if you do, well, that $12 million could be used on Kwity Paye, Boye Mafe, ETN. I mean, for me, it comes down to, do you want Moore and ETN, or do you want Juwan Taylor? Do you want Moore and Kwity Paye, or do you want Juwan Taylor? Do you want? I mean, again.
Honestly, I would paint a scenario to where you release them both and you save $30 million, and you have Esapole playing right tackle. Now, I wouldn't say that would be ideal.
You feel pretty thin, I think.
Absolutely,
I think
yes.
You feel, even if you like Esapole, even maybe similarly to Jalen Moore,
well, if the
you
best
still feel pretty thin.
Sorry, man. If the best player available at number 9 is one of those tackles, and the Chiefs go, now we're going to have a pretty badass tackle combo with Simmons and insert number 9 pick, one of the top 2 tackles in the draft, bookend, and we're going to have Esapole as a swing tackle, and we'll develop some other guys, and therefore we could save $30 million, and now we need to address other needs that we couldn't address with pick number 9. But we feel like the next 4 years, at least, because fifth-year option with Josh Simmons, that we've got our right and left tackle, and the middle of that line, Trey Smith. We drafted right tackle, and our offensive line is set for the next 4 years.
Sure.
3 years minimum with Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey, and Kingsley with a couple of years. So, the next 2 years, 26 and 27, there's our offensive line. Left tackle Simmons, Kingsley, Creed, Trey, number 9 pick. Well, then do you need $18 million for Jalen Moore? Or can Esapole fill in? Or is Jalen Moore an $18 million backup plan that is an insurance policy that sometimes you have to overpay for insurance to have a really good insurance policy? Now, the problem is a lot of times when you go to collect on the insurance claim, they're going to go out of their way to say, sorry, this doesn't actually work here. Hopefully Jalen Moore is not that guy. But I think Esapole has allowed them in what he did last year in developing, has allowed them to at least have the conversation of, well, Juwan is gone. We know that. Let's address Jalen Moore. Or if they are actually interested in Rasheed Walker, which, again, would be a surprise. Jason Lockenfora had the commentary that a couple of teams are interested in Rasheed Walker, the tackle for the Packers.
Big Kansas City guy.
Absolutely. He loves Kansas City. But the Chiefs are one of the 2 teams that he thinks or has heard are the most interested in Rasheed Walker. That sounds like smokescreen to me. That sounds like, oh, we're looking at tackle. Don't worry, at number 9, we're looking at tackle too. We need a tackle. So at number 9, we need a tackle. If the guys we want aren't there, now, if they don't get Rasheed Walker, but hey, we need a tackle. We were trying to get Rasheed Walker in free agency. It didn't work out. Really need a tackle. And number 9, a team that's tackle needy, if a guy that they really want isn't there and they've got 4 guys in the same tier, and it's like, well, any one of these 4 guys we'd be fine with. We've missed out on
Utah guys, really.
We've missed out on our guys that we really, really wanted, so we might as well, somebody wants to come up and take this tackle. Okay, that's fine. Let's do that and move back. I can't imagine them being in the $25 million tackle market as opposed to if you really needed a tackle that badly, why pay $25 million for one when you can draft one at number 9 and you get one of the top 2 tackles in the draft and you simply move on at that point with your offensive line set for at least the next couple of years. I wouldn't be enamored with a tackle at number 9. I would understand the thought process of, hey, our number 1 job as a team is to make sure that Patrick Mahomes is protected forever and has people around him, and he knows that we will always go out of our way to protect him and continue to put people around him, and so we're going to do that here. But I don't hear those comments and think, oh my God, Juwan Taylor's returning.
No, again, the Walker would only make sense if they moved on from both Taylor and Moore. Yeah, you'd save $30 million or $28 million. Oh, that's great. Well, that first year, you're paying like $50 million to the right tackle position because of all the dead cap.
Because you're paying $30 million in dead cap.
Yeah, I mean, so it's just.
Well, excuse me, $17 million. Sorry, because dead cap hit of 7, so 10, 7. $18 million.
Okay, and I mean 40+ mil probably for.
But I mean, if you paid, you're right.
Yeah,
if you pay Walker $25 million and add it into the 18. Good God.
Yeah, I just don't see it. Sunk costs and all that, and then maybe the year 1's not as expensive because of how they do the signing bonus and all that stuff. Again, you could talk yourself into them doing that, but then all you're really doing is saying, okay, Moore and Taylor both didn't work out. Let's bring in this guy to see if it works out, who, by the way, wasn't great last year. There's some numbers that are very alarming. And then that means your off-season spending It's not going to edge. It's not going to running back. It's not going to
wide receiver.
Not
or
going.
Corner.
Probably not going to bring back
Safety,
Watson
I mean,
and Cook. All it is saying we're changing out Moore
God.
and Taylor for Walker. I would be. I think that'd be a very bad decision.
Yeah, I'd be pissed. I would think that was irresponsible.
Yeah.
With the money.
Again, you can talk yourself into how it could happen, but you're saying I think we come to the conclusion of that's a bad decision.
Right. And if they didn't take Josh Simmons last year, it'd be pretty obvious as what they're going to do at number 9.
Sure.
You can just every single mock draft would have a tackle at number 9 to the Chiefs if they didn't take Josh Simmons last year. But it would not make sense fiscally, financially, and responsibly to look at the limited cap space that you have and have options at right tackle already with your cap space is what it is, even with Jawan Taylor's 27. Your cap space is what it is, even with Jalen Moore's 18.7 and Esapole. Okay, so you've got options there. I just they're $14 million under the cap right now when they make the Jawan Taylor move. This was always going to be a 3-year deal.
Yeah.
And I think it would be irresponsible for the Chiefs to move forward with Jawan Taylor at right tackle. You've got too many other needs, and you don't have enough cap space. It's a 3-year deal, 3 years. Okay, you got a couple Super Bowls trips there. You got a Super Bowl championship with him. Great. Now it's time to move on. Go your separate ways. He can go somewhere else as well.
Don't know how people got that from that clip. That's a wild situation.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More's on next. I wrap it up this hour. We'll talk with Daniel Harms. He is there in Indy. Get his thoughts on some players there at the Combine, who he's looking for, watching. Defensive linemen, linebackers all talking today. Big Citrus, Dominique Orange from North Kansas City, talked today at the podium. Cassius Howe talking at the podium today. Keyshawn Elliott, we mentioned that. He's talked at the podium today as well. So a lot of the local guys that are there at the Combine meeting with, all of the media that is there, but also some of the local media that's shown up to cover the Chiefs, some local teams, and some local players as well. But Daniel Harms coming up next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Michael Darcy. We head up until 2 o'clock. 2 more hours to go. An hour from now, Mick Schaefer will join us live in Indianapolis to talk about whatever he's seen there in Indy. Right now, let's talk to another man who is live in Indianapolis, and that is Daniel Holmes, our man from RGR Football and Bleacher Report, covering the NFL Draft and hanging out with us here on a Wednesday. Daniel, what's up, brother? How are you?
I'm doing all right, you guys. A little tired, obviously. Being in the atmosphere around Indianapolis is always a little bit hectic. There's a lot going on, a lot of things to see, but I'm doing good, and thank you guys again for having me on every week.
No problem, man. Is this, I should say, I don't want to assume, but is this your first opportunity there covering the Combine at Indy?
Fortunately, it's not. This is my 3rd year at the
like I said. Like I said, you know what? You're a 3-year veteran of this whole thing at the Combine. So your 3rd year, what do you learn from the first couple of years that now you go to the Combine and looking for and watching for in certain players that maybe getting a lay of the land in year number 1 and now year number 3 maybe being a little more efficient and having an idea of what you're going to be doing.
The biggest thing is knowing where to go to get your credentials so you can get in everywhere. Like, you don't always know. Like, this year I had to go to a completely different room.
Oh, my God.
Being a part of Bleacher Report. So, like, it's always changing. The setup downstairs for the media interviews is different than it was last year. So I thought I had a really good bearing on what I was going to be doing when I got here, and it all got turned around.
There you go. So that's part of it. You know what? Just getting in the building. That's step number 1. You can't cover it if you cannot get in the building. Absolutely. There. We know the defensive line and linebackers are talking today. We played a clip earlier on the show of Ruben Bain. He said he met with the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's a football lover, eats, drinks, sleeps football, sort of his mentality, his mindset. He said he went in and wanted to kill the interviews, and I wonder if he was actually saying he wanted to kill the interviewees or interviewers. I don't know, because I think sometimes he wants to kill the opposing team at times. But you're there, looking at all these guys. David Bailey has met with the Chiefs. This is, obviously, it's a little bit of a different draft for this team. That I don't know in years past at pick 32 if they would be talking to Ruben Bain and David Bailey. Really no reason to do that. Maybe they would, but kind of feels like a waste of time if you're picking 32. Picking number 9, you talk to those guys. Hopefully they'll not be there at 9, but certainly you may have an opportunity to get those guys. Did you hear anything or glean anything from, other than they're picking number 9, that they're talking with Ruben Bain and talking with David Bailey and some of these other higher valued defensive linemen?
I think not just with that, but listening to Brett Veach yesterday talk about how he's looking, I guess more of a prioritizing players or positions that aren't likely to see that second contract, right? Because if you're talking defensive end, defensive tackles for the most part, these guys that, even wide receivers, that are more likely to sign with the team that they're drafted with because they're going to get those big name contracts from those teams. Those are the positions that they're going to want to do most of the interviewing with now, because there's a good chance that running backs and some offensive linemen, maybe interior offensive linemen, are going to see free agency after their rookie contracts are over. So there's that to do with it. And obviously you want to do your homework on a bunch of different, not just of the players that you need in your defense, your offense, but maybe you can talk to some of the guys about the players that they played with. Like maybe you talk with Jacob Rodriguez about David Bailey, or David Bailey about Jacob Rodriguez. So there's multiple different ways that you can go about getting information, not just from players themselves that you want to draft, but from teammates and things like that. So I definitely think that they're just going to be doing a really good job of getting their homework done on any possible player that's available that they can end up drafting. But again, prioritizing those guys or those position groups that aren't likely to see that second contract.
But also, and to that point, you bring a David Bailey in and you talk to him maybe a little bit about Lee Hunter. You bring Lee Hunter in, maybe you talk to him a little bit about David Bailey and how those guys sort of played off each other, because I don't know where Lee Hunter is going to go, but, I mean, maybe he's available there at number 40, and they attack defensive line with the first couple of picks, or they don't go defensive line at number 9, doesn't fall that way, and they're sitting there at 40, and a guy like Lee Hunter there at 6'4", 330, and you're saying, okay, maybe he can be a disruptor on the interior. So, yeah, that's interesting, just getting those teammates in there and talking about the other guys that are there. Is there anybody that you showed up at the draft or at the Combine and you're wanting to talk to or wanting to hear from or watch work out, any particular thing that you're sort of looking at as bullet points that, okay, this is a guy that I want to hear from, hear what he has to say, or watch and see what those numbers look like?
Yeah, a lot of the positions that I talk to, that I cover are going to be corners, safeties, and tight ends. But I was down there this morning listening to some of the linebackers, and one of the guys that really caught my attention, it shouldn't be any surprise that Lander Barton, who is a legacy athlete at Utah, has, family members in the NFL, his lineage, not just, his mom and dad were athletes, but members of the family elsewhere too as well. So he was an incredibly well-spoken individual. You could see he just kind of understands how to articulate his answers. I liked watching him 2 years ago at Utah when I was with the Draft Network, and I had to do his report for that coming season because he was eligible to come out. Ended up going back, but he's about 6'3", 233, 236 pounds. So you probably want him to put on a little bit more, but he's a good athlete. He's been asked about the possibility of playing tight end, so that's also something that was interesting to listen to. He's someone that I want to see go through drills, not just because he's a good athlete, but because of that. My ears perking up to somebody possibly playing tight end who was a linebacker. And then again, back to the DB side, that's where I'm going to be doing a lot of my listening, and I'll probably ask a few questions tomorrow.
Big day tomorrow, then.
Yeah, exactly. Tomorrow is just huge for them, and I can't wait to see and listen to some of these guys because outside of the big names, right, there's a ton of talent in this DB class and tons of talent at the top for corners. We all know Jermon McCoy is going to be a big week for him. Did the medicals check out? Is he going to actually do any drills? Which we haven't had any confirmation on at all about that, but. I want to see some of these quote-unquote smaller guys. What's Chandler Rivers out of Duke going to do with the drills? D'Angelo Pons, a former track star, he's going to run fast. How well is he going to execute and keep that momentum from the end of the season going for him? And then some of the smaller guys that are probably down closer to day 3 that were at the Senior Bowl. T.J. Hall out of Iowa, Thaddeus Dixon out of North Carolina. There's a bunch of different players that I think can have niche roles or really good roles, slot or on the outside for the NFL. I'm excited to watch the guys that aren't being talked about a lot.
Yeah, and tomorrow defensive line will go through their measurements, so we'll see what the arm length is of Ruben Bain. The one of the most anticipated measurements that we've ever seen across the NFL and NFL draft, and certainly in Kansas City, about what's the arm length. I don't know. I kind of hope it measures a couple inches shorter than what they thought. Oh my God, he's got 25-inch arms. Well, I wouldn't draft him then. Don't draft him in the top 8 because he's a T-Rex. Okay, I don't care about what his tape looks like and how he plays on the field. Just don't draft him because his arms are too short. Maybe he should do that if he really wants to go to the Chiefs at number 9. That'd be great. You mentioned Lander Barton though, and it's sort of the Chiefs only have 6 picks, so they don't have a lot of picks to sort of play with there. But is an off-ball linebacker something they may be looking at? They may be thinking about. Brett Veach mentioned that he was like, well, I was asked about Drew Tranquill earlier, and Tranquill's a cut candidate as well. And Leo Chanel is a free agent. So you've got Nick Bolton and maybe Jeffrey Bossa. Cooper McDonald's a guy that they like, but could they be in the market or, at least, sniffing around and looking at some off-ball linebackers as one of their draft picks?
One of the situations that I've gone through in mock drafts and just kind of messing around with it in my head is that, well, what happens if you trade back, if you're able to? I know that a lot of people talk about how this class is not conducive to a team that wants to trade up and go get somebody, but on the off chance, maybe you're able to trade back. And Sonny Styles is staring you in the face.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah.
In that situation, again, that also depends on what Drew Tranquill, if he's there, if you're able to re-sign Leo Chanel, but he's not the same kind of player. And he was talking, earlier today about how he showcased his ability to play as a true Mike. Well, I understand that she's just extended Nick Bolton, but you think he can't play well for a few years? And if Nick Bolton ends up, not re-signing in Kansas City after his contract is over, you have the heir apparent there. So I think that there's always the possibility, depending on how the board falls, how their offseason goes with if they do cut Drew Tranquill and they don't have Leo Chanel back. I think linebacker becomes a very sneaky, interesting position, especially if you're able to maybe acquire some more draft capital elsewhere. So, yes, Lander Barton, I think, would be probably more of that Will type right now, more of an athletic. He does a lot of actually pass rush as well. I know he probably fits more of the mold of what Leo Chanel plays right now in Kansas City. He would have to I would think Barton would have to put on a little bit more weight to be able to stand up to that. but he did his best work at Utah, in my opinion, at the line of scrimmage, near it, blitzing, things like that. So that is an option as well.
Yeah, because at the end of the season for Nick Bolton going into 2027, either they restructure his deal or they can save $15 million against the cap. I mean, it makes sense not to move forward with Nick Bolton at 19 and a quarter for 2027 against the cap when it's 4 and a quarter to release him or restructure, because he'd still only be 27 at that point. We're going into his 27-year-old season, so we'll see what takes place with that. I saw the quote circling. And then I saw it, you tweeted out as well, from Caleb Banks, a guy that, could move up or down draft boards depending on interviews and depending on workouts and things like that, and somebody who may be around that the Chiefs may look at interior defensive linemen. But, we get to know some of these guys' personalities, and I feel like maybe he's got a little Marshawn Lynch to his game with the quote that was out there. Hey, Michael, can we play... This is what this is Marshawn Lynch. This is what Caleb Banks said, but this is Marshawn Lynch saying what Caleb Banks said. Which is what Caleb Banks says that he does. He says that he's going to run through mother bleepers' faces. So I liked hearing that.
It's always fun to get some of the personality stuff. I will say that for the most part, the interviews weren't as energetic as I would have expected. There was a couple of, I think, Big Citrus or Dominic Orange was one of those as well, to be a very vocal player from Kansas City. But back to listening to Caleb Banks, so that I had just come over to listen to him talk, and that was the very first thing that I heard. I turned to the guy next to me, and was like, "Did he just say that?" He absolutely did. He leaned into the microphone to say it too. So I was taken aback by that a little bit. That's maybe it's off the cuff for some people. Maybe they don't appreciate that he swore in that situation, but I think that gives you insight into the mentality he wants to play with or what he wants to exude. And I'm totally okay with that in that situation, where you're just going out there off the cuff a little bit and you're saying what you feel, what you want to say. And even though I'll say this right now, his tape does not necessarily say that he always will do that, because sometimes he gets run through, especially in run defense with the high tackle, high pad level he plays with from time to time. But I like the mentality, and I think that kind of seeps into a little bit more of the underlying work ethic stuff, right? If you want to play like that, maybe there's more of an ability for he can keep getting better at that. I know it's hard to play smaller for a guy his size. I get that. I absolutely do. But overall, getting to hear that in person was just very cool.
Well, one of the things about Chris Jones when he came out and he was a second rounder was this guy plays too tall. He's going to get pushed around in the NFL. His pad level's too tall. One of the things that he does is at the snap he stands up. That's not going to work. He'll never be able to be a dominant player in the NFL. And he still stands up. He still plays tall. But, he's Chris Jones. He's dominant. He's just a physical freak. They're built differently, but, sort of around the same at certain people's top 100s. And at interior defensive line, because Brett Veach said, those value positions to draft, interior defensive line, edge rusher. Those are the only two things that he mentioned. Caleb Banks, Peter Woods. Do you have a preference between one or the other? Again, they're built differently. And also Peter Woods is 2 years younger than Caleb Banks. Chiefs typically lean towards the younger player with more growth and upside maybe. Do you have a preference between those guys as it relates specifically to the Chiefs?
Yeah, I've been going back through Peter Woods because as this process has gone along, I've soured a little bit. But I think the main thing for me is that going back to 2024 is what I keep coming back to, and I go back to watch that tape. That was him playing free. He actually spoke about it today, too, where he felt like that was the tape where he was a difference maker, where that's what he's bringing to a defense where he can actually attack an offense. And I agree, when you're more of a 3-tech or a 4-eye, that means you're lined up on the inside shoulder of the tackle, and you're able to just move around, whether it's stunts, whether it's getting one-on-one with the guard, or whether it's kind of taking that inside shoulder of the tackle, being able to move him that way, create a beat gap for yourself and attack it inside. So I'm more now, I think if it was one or the other, I would say Peter Woods over Caleb Banks. I think he's a more complete player. I think he's got more tools in the pass rush tool bag to be able to overcome some of the length concerns, right? He likes to get inside as well, take control of who the blocker as well, and kind of stack and shed. He was talking about being able to smack and shed guys. That's something he does, where he use that pop from his hands and disengage quickly. I think that's something that he offers as well. He plays a little bit more with more leverage. I think he's got that kickstand technique. He can stand up a little bit better. And he says he can play one tech. I don't necessarily want to see him playing one tech. So in terms of player versus player, I think it's Woods over Banks by a little bit, probably a half round.
Interesting. And I look, I think interior defensive line could be something that the Chiefs look at number 9, depending on or trading back, and picking up more selections. Brett Veach talked yesterday, and a number of things to take away from Brett Veach. He discussed positional value, which is always the talk, right? Jeremiah Love at number 9 would be great for the offense, but do you go running back at number 9 as opposed to a guy that's tougher to get on the open market, and you would have to break the bank to get somebody on the open market? And he said some of the best players in this draft are in the non-premium positions, and he mentioned Jeremiah Love, Sonny Styles, and who else did he?
Caleb Downs.
Yeah, Caleb. Thank you. Downs are the 3 guys that he mentioned. And then said, some of those guys might be available via free agency, whereas those value positions are not, interior defensive line and edge rusher. He ended it, though, Daniel, by saying, but, ultimately it's draft the best player available, right? Some people heard that when, oh, God. So he's saying, the positional value matters, but also best player available matters. I heard that, Daniel, and I think he was just trying to land the plane to the answer about here's what I'm telling you, and where do I get to the final sentence? How do I dismount here to get the next question? Is ultimately it comes back to best player available, right? Next question. But I think ultimately he told you the mindset. The value positions are the ones that they need to value because they're not available in free agency. Correct?
And I agree with that. And also, how often are the Chiefs? Realistically, do they think they're going to be drafting inside the top 10? But that's the big thing here is that this is the first time since 2013 that they're going to be drafting this high in the draft. And while, yes, he's right, and we all agree with this, that the lower value position, safety, linebacker, running back, might have the better players, but you have to kind of make these types of decisions, right? Are you going to be able to get safeties? The safety market's always kind of loaded with players. The running back market, this one's a little bit different, right? Where you see Breece Hall, who's probably going to get tagged apparently, and Kenneth Walker, but running backs are typically guys you can find. The same with linebackers. So you have to parse through that information as a GM and say, yep, we really like these players, but we also really like the ones that are not going to be available free agency and have to be able to prioritize that. And if they're there, we'll probably draft those instead. That's how I took it as well.
Yeah. Daniel Holmes is our guest, RGR Football and Bleacher Report. He talked about the cap situation as well. They released Mike Dana, and the reason they released Mike Dana early is because he happened to be in the building. We joked that if Jawan Taylor was going to stop by the building, this would probably be the day to do it, or yesterday. Next couple days, if you're going to be around, stop by the building. I wouldn't do it when Brett Veach is there. It seems to be the pretty obvious one is that Jawan Taylor can be released. He mentioned $60 million in convertible contracts that they can get, but they typically run a tight ship. Do you think they will reach into the restructure contract route with some of these guys after they, let's assume Jawan Taylor is released, and they examine whether or not they're going to move on from Drew Tranquill, from Noah Gray? Do you think they reach into the Trey Smith or Creed Humphrey contracts, and which are a couple convertible contracts that he talked about to, and my calculations looking at it would be about $25 million combined you can get up to with Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey and restructuring there. Do you think they go the route of touching players' contracts, or Jawan Taylor and maybe Drew Tranquill, maybe Noah Gray, and the draft class may be enough to then supplement with free agents?
Yeah, I think they're going to try and do a little bit of both. I think they're going to. Okay, I shouldn't say I think they're going to. I would not, as I talk myself into this more, would not touch Chris Jones' contract. I would leave it as is. Even though you can still restructure quite a bit and get a good chunk of that from him, I would probably leave that alone. Take some of the guys like Creed Humphrey or Trey Smith and do it there, and then find ways to get creative. And that's another one with the extension of Trent McDuffie. If that will, and you can extend him and free up some space as well. So there's a bunch of different ways to go about it. That's why they are in this position, right? They talked about being minus $40 million, over the cap, but then they did the Patrick Mahomes thing. And there's always different creative ways to do with the Chiefs team, and they've done a really good job of making these contracts creative that way and tenable and malleable to be able to create different amounts of cap space. And I'm of the opinion they're going to try to get to, I think, as close to 60 without getting to that Chris Jones contract, or maybe without having to cut one of those extra players. But if it were me, I'm looking at Noah Gray's performance last year. I'm looking at Drew Tranquil's performance last year, and I'm talking myself into, are there younger players that in free agency or even in the draft that we can get that can give us more, or if not equal to, and having to pay less for that? So that's how I see that.
Visiting with Daniel Holmes, you bring up something there, and players that you can get equal to, but I'm going to take it to a different route in the NFL draft that you've covered for a while. Brett Veach has now talked for a couple of years about what the NIL and the transfer portal has done to the middle, late, certainly day 3 parts of the draft, where the Chiefs would take a guy that's a Joshua Williams, 20-year-old guy, the traits that are there that then you can teach around those traits, and you can coach them up and you can develop them, but there's more of a ceiling that's there that you can reach, whereas an established player and kind of a guy that you know what you're getting at that point. He's mentioned that a couple of years now. Have you seen that as the case over the last couple of years, that middle 4th through 7th round is not the level of player that we've seen before, that it's more of a finished product, that those picks maybe are less valuable than what they've been in the past? Because taking it one step further, Daniel, can you find guys that are undrafted free agents that sort of fit the bill of what the 5th and 6th and 7th rounders are if you're getting more of a population that are all sort of finished products together?
I mean, I think in any draft class you're going to have this up and down, right? I think Brett Veach said something like they draft a bunch of guys out of there. A bunch of guys went back to school, right? It takes a good
chunk of 75 to 100 guys off our board that went back to school.
Yeah, I think that's the bigger question here, is that it's not necessarily the finished products versus the upside guys that you're getting in the class. But I think that even at 24 years old for some of these players, there's upside because of where they play defensively. Like maybe they just didn't get taught properly. So like there's always those upside players. There's always those finished products. I think this, for me, it leans more towards the ones that going back that thin out your prospect pool a little bit more. So you do have to maybe take more risks on the guys that are quote unquote finished products. Is that, did you have a really good year your last year because you're older prospect and you're dominating younger competition, or did you finally figure it out, or maybe you lean more towards the upside guys? So I think for me, it's not necessarily about these day 3 guys having less upside or they're more finished products. I just think that what we are seeing is the guys that end up filling that out right now are more risky. And then maybe they're more scheme fits versus guys that have upside that you can train up and things like that. Because the ones that maybe think they have better prospects or they can make more money now because their schools are offering that because of NIL are now going back to school. And those guys that do have upside that are going back to school, they're not necessarily being taught differently, or maybe they're going to a different school. So this kind of branches off to a different point for me. If you have the same guy, let's say he's 22 years old, okay? He goes from one school, transfers to another one, gets paid, transfers to another one, gets paid, and then goes to the NFL. How are you evaluating that player in terms of football IQ? He looks like he might be the same exact player all those different places, but he's learning different defenses, different schemes, different positions where he's supposed to line up. And then you get to the NFL, you're learning a completely different thing. So that still seems like a guy who's going to have upside if he's an athletic upside player, but he's less informed, but he's older now. You see what I mean? Like this is all of this stuff is starting to impact. So I think for me, it's more about the transfer of all of that guys going back than just who's going to be in the draft.
I also wonder too, as you mentioned, that if you're going from scheme to scheme to scheme, does it make it to where guys are entering the NFL, maybe offensively and defensively, to where they aren't as football scheme, smarts, processing, if they're going from one scheme to the next, if it's like, look, this guy's here for 5 months, Like, we can't get into the 17 different layers of this. We're doing installs, the early installs, and we're letting this guy just go and play, where then you get to the NFL and it gets pretty intricate, and maybe even from an offensive, like, wide receiver standpoint too. Like, this is the offense we run, and you look down at your little card on your arm and you stay out there and you don't really huddle, and we're just going to let you go and run these routes. I do wonder if it's like from team to team to team, does that sort of stagnate a little bit of the learning of sort of the advanced schemes and understanding of that, if it's just maybe more remedial because you're at a place for 5 months?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that we heard about from Xavier Worthy coming into the second year, right, was that he could play faster because he knew the scheme. He understood where he was starting to, get where he was going to get to. Obviously, the injury derailed that part of the season, but that's the mindset we're thinking about. When you're more comfortable in a scheme, you can play faster because you're not thinking as much. I know that college is different than the NFL, but if you're going from school to school to school and you're learning that scheme in the spring and you have to still think about where you're going to be, and then you do all of that over again, when are you ever getting comfortable with your development as a player? So that is definitely something we got to think about.
Do you think, last one for you, do you think Kelsey returns? We heard from Brett Veach there having the dialogue. And do you think Kelsey is back next year with the Chiefs?
No, absolutely. I thought that for a while now. Yeah. I think he's definitely coming back for one last ride.
All right, we'll see what happens. Daniel Harms, RGR Football Bleacher Report. Daniel, enjoy the rest of the day, because I know tomorrow with the defensive backs, corners, secondaries, tight ends, well, guess what? Tomorrow's defensive backs and tight ends. So you got a full day of talking with guys and jumping from podium to podium. So thank you so much for joining us today. As always, man, enjoy the rest of your time there, and we'll talk next week when we sort of have a post part of the combine and see what your thoughts were from these next couple of days. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely, man. Thank you guys for having me once again.
Absolutely. Daniel Harms, RGR Football Bleacher Report. He's so good at the things that he does, and he'll be there in Indy, and we'll have a wrap of the combine next week with Daniel. And one of his main things that he covers is cornerbacks, safeties, tight ends, and tomorrow is cornerbacks, safeties, and tight ends. All one day. So
it's going to be a day from hell.
Good luck with that. You couldn't spread them out. You couldn't have like wide receivers and tight ends one day, so you're focusing on the tight end part of the media schedule. Nope. Cornerback, safeties, tight ends, all on one day tomorrow. And tomorrow will be that measurement day for the defensive line and linebackers, which is a big day for Reuben Bain. Again, I hope that his arms are like 10 inches, just like T-Rex arms. That's it. I hope that's the case. And it's like, wow, we didn't think that his arms could be that short on a grown man. He's 21 years old, and he's got arms of a 3-year-old.
But will they grow? Will he grow into his arm? Will he grow to his body?
His arms have upside. There's upside for growth for his arms. His arms are a younger 21, and they're an immature 21 years old, his arms are. They've got some maturing to do.
But are they cramping?
I hope not. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. I looked at how the Eagles sort of built their draft arsenal that every year was like, how do they continue to have these 2 first-round picks, and how are they in this position to draft this guy and that guy? We'll talk about that and see if the Chiefs have an opportunity to start on that path that Howie Roseman went on when he was able to get so many early first and second round guys that built into that 2024 Super Bowl winning team that knocked off the Chiefs there in the Super Bowl. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. We'll talk with Mick Schaefer coming up at 1 o'clock. He's there in Indianapolis. We'll see if he's done any work whatsoever. Highly doubtful. Thank you to Daniel Holmes, who I know has done work there in Indy, and talking to a lot of the defensive linemen, linebackers that were, talking today, and asking him about, Caleb Banks and his comments about running through mother bleepers' faces, and the old Marshawn Lynch and Peter Woods, who he likes, one or the other, if the Chiefs were to maybe trade down from number 9, or Peter Woods just kills the combine and everybody's like, this guy, 2024 is who he is. 2024 is who Peter Woods is, and 2025 we'll just have to figure out whatever happened there, because that guy is an absolute stud and, not draft eligible after 2024 and a sophomore, and he was so good. And now he's only 21 years old, where Caleb Banks is 23 years old, a redshirt senior as opposed to a true junior. Who's going to be better? Which would be a better player? Who's a better player for the Chiefs? Because Caleb Banks is a taller guy that plays with this pad level too high, like they said about Chris Jones, at 6'6", and it's kind of hard for you to play with lower pad level at 6'6", whereas Peter Woods is 6'3", 310, not 6'6", 340. Which is a better one for the Chiefs? And we'll see what they actually measure out at, right? Because the measurements are tomorrow. So maybe Peter Woods is 6'2", 320, and it's like, oh, okay, maybe not as tall as you were hoping, and maybe Caleb Banks is like, oh, he's 6'6", 325. Okay, well, maybe he might be a little bit quick. We'll see. But interesting sort of going down that route, because that's what the Chiefs are going to have to figure out of, okay, if we're at number 9, is this guy worth it, or can we trade back and get something and still get a guy like that? Daniel Holmes mentioned Sonny Styles. That positional value, Sonny Styles, by a lot of people's big boards, Dane Brugler has Sonny Styles as like the number 4 player in the draft. An off-ball linebacker. Like, you're talking about Devin White and Roquan Smith are like the last 2 off-ball linebackers that have gone in the top 10. I wouldn't spend a top 10 pick on an off-ball linebacker.
Sure.
Even if it's like this guy, the way he plays, is just simply the 4th best football player in the entire draft, and he's there at number 9. Okay, that's fine, though. I'm not taking that guy.
It's a little running back as well, where it's like
Yes.
the positional value. That's going to be Drew Tranquil to an extent.
Right,
You're
it'd be
like,
Drew Tranquil this year, and hopefully, or you would hope Drew Tranquil this year, that would be Nick Bolton in 27, because you'd save $15 million on Bolton's contract if you went that route.
Correct.
If you went that route, you can't have Bolton in 27. I just think that would be too expensive.
Yeah.
But point being, you wouldn't take him at number 9.
Because his contract would be more than what Drew Tranquil pays
That's
now.
right.
Yeah, just
Yes.
the number 9,
Yes.
a rookie contract, cheap deal. No, it's
Right.
actually more expensive than the current.
But if you were to trade back, and it's like, okay, now you're sitting here at 15, and this guy's still on your board, the number 3 or 4 best player in the draft.
A little different.
Okay, we're going to take this guy. Because going from 9 to 15, you've probably picked up a decent pick. Certainly in the top 100, maybe in the top 80 pick to move back that far. The Philadelphia Eagles got to the level of where they were able to take Devonta Smith, Jordan Davis, trade for A.J. Brown, draft Nakobe Dean, draft Nolan Smith, draft Jalen Carter, draft Quinyon Mitchell, draft Cooper DeJean. That was in 4 years, guys. All those draft picks were in 4 years in the first or second round picks. How do you get that many picks in that area to then draft those type of players? Well, the Chiefs are in a position at pick number 9 because they had a really bad year. The Chiefs should be planning for the fact that as long as Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback, we will never have this position again. We are in a unique scenario that we think this is the only time, as long as Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback, that we're going to be drafting in the top 10. So how do we maximize that? Do you maximize that by one particular player that you feel like could be a difference maker? Okay, well, maybe you have to trade up to get him. Oh, all right, we only got 6 picks. Do you maximize that by the player that's there at number 9? You keep the other 5 picks. Maybe you don't trade back and get anything else, but number 9 is the guy that can be the difference maker, and you take him there. Or do you maximize by sliding back if somebody wants to move up and collecting every extra draft picks along the way.
I do think it feels very reliant on Trent McDuffie. If you were to trade and get 29 from the Rams, I know we keep going to that one because I think it's the most realistic and the most obvious and the works for both parties because the Rams need to spend money and they have 2 first-round draft picks, and it makes a lot of sense. Well, then, yeah, at 9, you can go wherever you want, really. That opens up the board. You feel much – me personally, Jeremiah Love at 9 because you have 29 as well, sure. I mean, again, hopefully Bain's not there. But, you know, if it was Love or Mekhi Lemon or Carnell Tate, you feel – or maybe let's say it's even Bailey, but you don't feel as good about Bailey as you do about Bain. Well, if you have a pick 29 as well and 40, hell, yeah, go ahead. I take Love. I'm okay with that now. More palatable now. If that's your only pick in the first, I don't like that, right? I do think the McDuffie situation is so fascinating because, to me, it affects completely what the Chiefs do. It's a trickle down. There's two things I'm looking for all offseason. What do they do with the Chris Jones contract? Do they stay put or do they extend? That's a huge one. And the second one's just Trent McDuffie. What happens? Because you could talk Trent McDuffie, either way, I'm going to be happy. You keep him and extend him, happy. Makes sense. I get it. Love it. You trade him, get a first-round draft pick back, and then you can maneuver around the board however you see fit. Also cool. Love it. You got to get it right, but I at least can understand that move. The Chris Jones one is the one that I'm pretty black and white on.
Yeah.
Don't touch the contract. Don't try and add more years and extend it out and then try and pay him even more money over the next 2 seasons. Let it play out. You have the cap space right now with Jawan Taylor being cut, maybe Noah Gray. You can find ways to make it work. You don't have to touch it. Don't touch it. Don't pay a 33-year-old D with the tackle like $45 million a year. That's just silly talk. So that's what I'm looking forward to is a Chris Jones and Trent McDuffie situations. Once those sagas get underway and finalized, we'll have a much better understanding of the way the Chiefs are trying to go.
So here's where that comes into effect. Because the Philadelphia Eagles run of those draft picks where they got all of those different players, Devonta Smith, Jordan Davis, A.J. Brown was a first-rounder, Nakobe Dean was a third-rounder, but I'll get to that trade. Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. That's in the 21 to 24 draft. That's 4 drafts. They got all those guys that were pretty significant in helping them win the Super Bowl against the Chiefs in 2025. So it started in 2020 when they went 4-11, which got them the 6th pick in the 2021 draft. Sitting at number 6 in the 2021 draft. On the board, because the only players that have been taken, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase. That's who was taken ahead of him.
Oh, yeah, Doug Peterson had just gotten fired, right? Yeah.
So where are you going? Because the Miami Dolphins wanted Jalen Waddle. Well, Waddle's there. Devonta Smith is there. Penei Sewell, J.C. Horn, Patrick Surtain, Micah Parsons, Rashawn Slater. All these guys went after pick number 6, okay?
Yeah.
The Philadelphia Eagles, with the 6th pick in the draft, traded back to number 12. Miami moved up because they wanted Jalen Waddle. So what did they get? They got a 2022 first-round draft pick and the number 12 pick. So they didn't trade back and get a 3rd and a 4th and a 2nd or anything. They traded back for Miami's 2022 first-round draft pick. So they moved back 6 spots. So now 2022, they're going to have 2 first-rounders.
And they still got that was Devontae Smith, right?
And they still have the number 12 pick. They then traded number 12 and a 3rd rounder to move up to number 10 to get Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
So they essentially traded the number 6 pick and a 3rd rounder to get the number 10 pick and a first-round draft pick the next year.
Sure.
It's pretty good work by Howie Roseman, okay?
Pretty solid.
There is a lot of credit where credit is due for him being one of the best GMs in football. So they still end up with Devontae Smith. Probably they're sitting there at number 6 and saying Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. Either one of these will be fine. We don't think the Lions are going to go wide receiver. We don't think the Panthers are going to go wide receiver. Do we think the Broncos are going to go wide receiver? They need a quarterback. Okay, well, what if we're there at number 10? Well, we're going to trade back to number 12. Okay, well, maybe we need to trade up to number 10. Who knows? Anyway, so now they go into the 2022 draft because they got Devontae Smith in the first round. Now they head into the 2022 draft with Miami's first rounder. But they also traded Carson Wentz in 21, conditionalized to a first rounder.
That was wild.
That's where right, but that's where McDuffie may come in.
Yeah.
So they entered the 2022 draft with their selection, Miami's first rounder, and the Colts' first rounder.
Yeah.
Because they traded back, picked up an extra first-round pick, and then traded Carson Wentz for a second rounder that went up to a first. So they're sitting there with pick 15, 16, and 19. They traded up to number 13 and got Jordan Davis. They traded number 18 to get A.J. Brown. They traded their other first-rounder for a third-rounder that year and a first-rounder in the 2023 draft. So now they have got Jordan Davis, A.J. Brown, and 2 first-rounders in 2023 and an extra third-rounder that year in which they took Nakobe Dean because they had extra third-round picks.
Yeah, it was
let's take a guy who
good
was
player.
Yeah, let's take this guy that slid down the draft for whatever reason. We've got extra picks. We're throwing numbers at this. But they kept kicking the first-round can down the road. So now you head into the 2023 draft. They have the Saints pick and their own pick. Well, 2023 comes, and sitting there at number 10 is Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
Because they traded the 19th pick the year before because they already had 2 first-rounders.
Yep.
They traded that pick for a third-rounder and next year's first. And because of that, they could have taken somebody at 19 as like, no, we're not moving out of this spot for something next year. We could take somebody awesome right now at number 19. Instead, they said, no, we're going to trade this pick because we don't think the Saints are going to be all that good in 2022 for their pick. So then 2023, they take Jalen Carter. And at pick number 30, they take Nolan Smith. In 2024, they've got the number 2 pick, or they've got their own first-round pick in 2024, which was pick number 22.
Yep.
But with the Saints pick from the next year, they also had a 2024 second-rounder. So they have a couple of second-rounders that they move up and get Cooper DeJean.
So it's Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, right?
Yep. So starting with the 6th pick in the draft in 2021 and Carson Wentz. That's all they started with.
Yeah.
Because Carson Wentz wasn't until the next year. Starting with the 2021 draft, 6th pick because they were bad in 2020. They traded back, got a first-rounder. Carson Wentz was traded, got a first-rounder. And then they used those extra first-round picks to move around the board. They traded up. They traded up and got Jordan Davis.
Yep.
They traded up and got Cooper DeJean. They traded up in different picks. But by moving around the board, they were able to then say, we've already taken 2 first-rounders this year. We can trade our 3rd first-rounder for next year. Now we can play the draft next year the same way. And it all started because they were bad in 2020 and they were willing to slide back and take maybe a quote-unquote lesser player. But if they were trying to choose between Jalen Waddle or Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle was not a first-rounder better than Devontae Smith.
No, and I would argue that even now that we've seen him play out, you'd still say it's probably Smith over Waddle. Very close, though. I think it's about equal.
Waddle's had injury issues and everything.
Yeah, I think it's about equal. It's tough with the quarterbacks they've both played with. It's not necessarily pass-first offenses. But the Chiefs have done this one time. Veach did it one time with Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
And it worked.
And then he was able to trade up to get Trent McDuffie.
So it's easy to say, we'll just do that. Well, teams try. The issue is they normally miss the draft pick, and then you're stuck in no man's land.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say they normally do, but that's probably the more common situation. We are talking about Howie Roseman, one of the best, if not the best GM in football. I think Brett Veach, Howie Roseman, Les Snead, and those 3. Probably clear. Maybe Brad Holmes. Brad Holmes of
the Lions.
The Lions. I think those 4 might have a case. But again, this is why the McDuffie situation becomes fascinating because the Chiefs have a chance to. They were bad. This is their, again, Carson Wentz they're moving on from anyway for Nick Foles. There was a lot of other issues, just different situations and scenarios. So, and then obviously Jalen Hurts. Eventually, that would have been in 21 that he was drafted. I think Jalen Hurts. Or was it 2020?
Jalen Hurts was for whatever reason, I want to say 2020.
But they still had Nick Foles. They're moving on from
Because
Carson.
they traded Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz played for the Colts in 2021.
Okay, so yeah. So
because they got the first rounder in the 2022 draft from the Colts.
Yeah, and then Carson Wentz, that was a whole disaster, and then they got a second round. The Chiefs don't have that. It's only really happened twice I can think of in history where that happened. That, and then Jimmy Garoppolo for a second rounder to San Fran, right? Those are the only two that really stand out of teams that know they're moving on from a quarterback, and they still get a huge haul back for a probably lesser than guy, little unknown quantity.
Let me paint a scenario real quick for you, and then we'll go to break. But this is where it's like, boy, if they trade back, I'd be pretty disappointed. Okay, let me create this scenario. The Chiefs are sitting there at number 9, and let's say they moved on from McDuffie, and they got 29 from the Rams. So they go into this draft with 9 and 29 and 40. But at number 9, somebody wants to trade up and get, somebody. You got the number 13 pick in the draft wants to move. Cowboys are sitting
Let's
at 13.
say it's an offensive lineman. Let's say it could be one of the offensive linemen, yeah.
Right. A team at 13 or 14 says, we want to move up in the draft. Okay, we'll slide back to number 13 or 14. We'll take a third rounder this year and 13, but we want next year's first rounder in 2027 to move back that far. Maybe you got to move back to 16 or 17.
Yeah.
I'm trying to create a scenario like the Eagles to where it's like, you've got number 9, but how do you maximize number 9? Well, because you traded McDuffie and you've got pick 29, well, okay, are you good with pick 16, 29, an extra third rounder, but then you've got 2027, you've got 2 first rounders going into the 2027 NFL draft. Or maybe you're sitting there and picking at number 29 and you slide back.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe number 9, you slide back. He's never going to do this, by the way. But collecting as many picks as possible so that you can take Tyreek Hill of what happened in 2022 and you can create that into your number 9 pick and Trent McDuffie.
It's also the OKC situation where once you start collecting them, it's hard to stop because you have so much capital. You find ways
it's like
to
Pokemon. You got to collect them all.
You're just collecting them all, and I wouldn't mind them moving. If Bane's gone at 9, I think that might be the caveat I'll throw out. If Bane's gone at 9, I think you can move to 15 and still find a very good player. Right, I still think there's going to be enough guys that if you were to move back to 15 at 9 and Bane's gone, that I could talk myself into being, okay, understandable, that's fine. If Bane's still there at 9 and then they moved back, I'd probably have a little more qualms about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we'll see. I just think when it comes to pick number 9, if the Chiefs slide back to pick up extra draft picks, I'd be fine with it, obviously depending on who they get in the draft and the picks that they get, because you have to then maximize. You got to nail the picks, as Brett Veach said. They nailed the picks in 2022 when they made a big splash like what they may be able to do this year. That was Tyreek Hill. Howie Roseman clearly nailed the picks with Devontae Smith trading a first-rounder for A.J. Brown, drafting Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. Yeah. Like, you killed it. You absolutely killed it with those picks. But you also had to trade a player away. You got lucky because Carson Wentz ended up being a first-rounder. But you were willing to move back. You had a bad year. You can get a stud player at number 6, a difference-making player. Or you can continue to play the board and help you play the board in next year's draft and play the board in the draft after that and play the board in the draft after that, while also taking some pretty damn quality players because you're continuing with 2 first-rounders.
Yep.
And it felt like the Patriots for like 4 years in a row had 2 first-round draft picks. Would go into the draft with 2 first-rounders. Doesn't mean they would take 2 first-round picks, but they would enter the draft with 2 first-rounders.
It doesn't mean they would always get it right.
Yeah,
absolutely. They started to get down the road of getting it wrong pretty often.
Yeah, but they were able to then trade back, take extra lottery picks and things like that. I think just looking at how the Eagles were able to take all of those players in a span of 4 years, started with the number 6 pick in the draft.
Yeah.
Because they were really bad. And here the Chiefs are with an opportunity, although the more likely scenario is Brett Veach trades up to number 4. Let's be honest. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Wrapping up this hour, we'll talk with Mick Schaefer. Will be hanging out with us in the 1 o'clock hour from Indianapolis live. He's there at the Combine.
Fact.
We'll talk with him about things that he took away from and has learned from the Combine. He'll be there a little next few days as well. So we'll talk with Mick Schaefer, some NFL football, some college basketball with Mick. No doubt that he went and found a spot in a nice little corner of a bar or whatever and just sat there and watched the Mizzou game uninterrupted, nobody bothering him, by himself. So we'll talk with his, get his reaction from that. And then also something really cool that we're going to talk with Kevin Timmons about with Lifting Spirits that's coming up tomorrow night. We're going to talk with him in the 1 o'clock hour as well. And Sterling just gets to drink bourbon, okay? All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll talk with Mick Schaefer this hour at some point. He's roaming and doing whatever he needs to do there in Indy, which is perfectly fine because we had already scheduled for Mick Schaefer to be roaming and irresponsible because we brought in one of the most responsible people that you can think of, and that is Kevin Timmons of Nick and Jake's and For the Kids, and with this really awesome event that's coming up tomorrow night called Lifting Spirits, a premium bourbon experience that goes to benefit For the Kids, that has raised millions and millions of dollars for Children's Mercy Hospital and the mental health wing at Children's Mercy. And what a better way to combine some things than helping kids and getting to drink bourbon. And Kevin, I appreciate you coming in because this is Sterling's favorite combination of talking sports while drinking bourbon. It's just odd.
With KT.
With KT, that's right. You know,
we had a good time a couple weeks ago.
Did you?
Yeah.
So we head up the day before. Schedules had to align. I fly to San Francisco. I have to wake up at 4:30 in the morning. And KT hits me up and says, "Hey, we're heading up to Ben Holiday. You're coming too." And so, one, that was a very long night, day, everything. The next morning was another long day, night, morning. But it was an experience that we had up at Holiday Distillery up there in Weston. We tried just some incredible bourbons. The 8 years now becoming my favorite. I went home with some bourbons. We did a bourbon night with some friends when I got back from San Fran. We did a little blind taste test with a whole bunch of different bourbons. I'm talking bourbons that are $200 bourbon bottles. I mean, we went crazy with it.
KT is now pouring some.
And we had...
Not for me, obviously.
We had us all agree on the 6-year Rick House coming in first place. The 1586 Rick House 6-year, that one right there. The no. Well, yes, that one, but the 6-year, this is the 8, even better. And it all came in first place. It was just such an experience. So, KT, shout out to you and Ben Holiday.
Well, I tell you, I feel blessed to be friends with a lot of the liquor people in town. We're blessed. I mean, we've got Jay Rieger. We've got some of the best craft brewers in the country right here in town. And we've got Ben Holiday, and that was the one that we chose, and I brought some Ben Holiday expressions in right now. But, you know, to lay it down and say, hey, we're one of the best bourbons in the world, you've got to satisfy, in my mind, 3 things. The most important thing is the juice inside the bottle. Number 2 is the story. And number 3 is the package. And if you remember when we were out there, Lewis and Clark discovered a natural spring that's on the property, and it's filtered through limestone. And people wonder, why is all the good bourbon places in South Indiana and Kentucky? Well, that's because all the water is being filtered through these limestone sheets, and it's the water.
It's actually just in the tap.
It's the water. It's the water. Yeah, it was great until we took fluoride out. Anyways, so they've got that same water up here in Weston, and they've really learned how to age.
Yeah,
and they've really learned how to age. When we walked in, they gave us an 8-year expression, and we all looked at each other. We took a sip, and usually you don't start with the best thing you're going to taste, but that's the way they did it. So
you don't start with dessert. You usually get around to that.
Yeah, it's good for them. But I just poured this ancient cave collection, and we went into the cave, and we try to bust into a barrel or two and try to thief a little bit of the bourbon.
We tried to. They're pretty heavy.
Yeah, I bet.
They're pretty heavy. I thought, also, how can I check this on the plane? I thought that might be a little bit of a dead giveaway.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, here's the thing. Mick Schaefer's in Indianapolis at the Combine, and we're here enjoying, well, you guys are, enjoying this bourbon. Mick could drive a couple of hours south to enjoy some bourbon, or he could have just hung out with us here in this segment here on a Wednesday with KT here. Good choice, Mick. Well done. No, good decision, buddy.
I feel like I saved the show because Mick was late.
You did.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, good decision, Mick.
Just to get off of Ben Holiday, how weird was it while you're still in San Francisco? I'm reading an article, the top 10 bourbon distilleries to visit in America that aren't in Kentucky, and Ben Holiday was number 4.
Insane.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right here in our backyard.
It's gorgeous.
That's
It's
really
gorgeous.
cool.
So if you're looking when the weather gets better, get up there, spend the day up there, find a ride home. Best of luck to you. So.
It's like for the kids.
Yeah.
Find a ride home.
100%.
Me and my boy, I said,
100%.
I go, we're Ubering. We're Ubering to For the Kids, which is, again, lifting spirits, great cause, $10 raffle tickets.
Yeah.
For some of the best bourbons you can't find.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it's something.
And it's a virtual raffle as well, so you don't have to necessarily be there at the Lifting Spirits event. So
Most
you
of
can
the
go
people, there's so many virtual. It's on YouTube Live.
Yeah.
So a lot of people. We had 960 people tuned in last year to the raffle.
Wow, nice.
And my phone was, people are like winning and not winning, and but this year's list, there's 40 bottles in the raffle. 37 of them I highlighted in pink. There's not one of those bottles that you can find in a liquor store in Kansas City without it being behind a glass case or in the general manager's office.
I just love it.
Or winning a raffle to have the opportunity to buy it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Elijah Craig. 18-year single barrel. Yeah, sure. Yeah, find some Elijah Craig.
Yeah.
But you won't find the 18-year single barrel. Wild Turkey's 70th anniversary.
You know what we added? We added yesterday Parker's Heritage 11-year, which is a Heaven Hill product. William LaRue, which is a Weller product. Unbelievable. And then the Willett people had my co-host, John McDonald, who does a phenomenal job tomorrow night.
Yeah.
They had us go out to Kentucky to pick all of the barrels for the state of Kansas.
Wow.
And one
fun trip.
One of the barrels we picked only yielded a little over 20 bottles because of the angel share, because of the evaporation. So they said, well, we can't sell you 20 bottles for a barrel. Why don't we just give you those? We'll label them Lifting Spirits. 13-year bourbon in that barrel, and we just added it. We just got it in, just added it yesterday. So, and those purple top Willets are over the top.
They're so unique, and the flavor profile. There's so many different things that you get on each sip with those purple tops. It's a lot different than your traditional Willet's good. I remember Dylan, that's the first time you heard us talk was traditional Willet. Willet's very good. Purple top, though, is a very, very unique bourbon. And impossible to find nearly.
It's their family aged bourbon. I mean, and they're aging them longer and longer, and these expressions are just getting more complicated and just delicious. So,
man,
Kevin Timmons is hanging out with us for the Kids Foundation. It is the event coming up tomorrow night, Lifting Spirits, and I'm glad Sterling is here to help talk about these things because I would probably need my wife here if I wanted to really talk about bourbon. But I know the last time I was out, Sterling and Mick got to enjoy that. So, Mick is there in Indianapolis. And Mick, I know you're on headset now. And I apologize for, last time you got to enjoy some of these things. And now you just get to enjoy us talking about it while Sterling is sipping on it. And it's sitting in front of me. And I'm not doing anything. I'm not drinking, having even a sip. You can do that in Indianapolis, though, by proxy.
I can, and I'm good not being in the room with Sterling, so I'm fine.
That's also perfectly fine. But Mick is there in Indianapolis. We'll talk some NFL draft, combine, and maybe some Mizzou basketball with Mick Schaefer. But Kevin Timmons is here with us as well. And the Lifting Spirits, you guys at For the Kids Foundation, and being able to cover the golf tournament and this event that's coming up tomorrow night. One of the great things is that, we look around Kansas City and there are a lot of great organizations and people that do some really, really cool things. But to get the amount of people that rally behind For the Kids, and Kevin, you and the people at For the Kids and the board that have put all these things together, that you see the difference that it makes, but you also see a number of people that are supporting you that create some of these events, and you get some recognition for being, this foundation that has these the events that so many people come together for such a good cause. Also, you got some really cool things like bourbon and stuff like that you can go and get.
Well, we like to do events that we like to do, and a bunch of the people on our board love pickleball, so we have a pickleball event.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep, and then we have the golf event, which is our main one. The Independent here in Kansas City had a party last week with all of the charities from all over attending. and For the Kids Golf Tournament got the second highest grossing golf tournament behind Trent Green's last year. And the Lifting Spirits event won an award called the Impact Award. We had the highest grossing event of any event that wasn't a golf tournament or a gala. And, you know, we've been doing this for 23 years now, and never once has it been or felt like we need any of that kind of, you know, credit or fanfare. But it was a nice feeling. And our board of directors is phenomenal. Our board of directors is young, hardworking. We've filled all the different areas that we need on a board, you know, financial guys, law guys, accounting guys, a lot of hard workers, and our board is phenomenal. And, you know, typically people are on this event saying, hey, come tomorrow night, but it's been sold out. It's been sold out for weeks. And what I'm telling you is that 40 bourbons are being raffled off tomorrow that can be purchased, raffle ticket be purchased online. And they're
For the Kids
forthekidskc.org.
Yep, forthekidskc.org. Just go there, click the link, you'll get right to it. You'll see we have five live auction items.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to take a group of our bourbon guys. You couldn't go down to Wichita, and Fred Noe, the Fred Noe, the father of Jim Beam and Knob Creek and Knob Hill and I'm sorry, Knob Creek. Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah.
Where am I?
Heaven Hill, Knob Creek.
I was in between the two of them
You're like,
one
let's
night.
combine them.
So 3 or 4 roses that are in this.
How many drinks did we have? Anyways, we got there, and I helped organize it. So there were 180 people at this thing, and you weren't allowed to get anything signed, but they allowed me to bring. We've got the entire collection of little books from 1 to 13, every single one of them. And he looked at it and said, how did you get number 3 and number 7? How in the heck did you get that? And he signed every one of them. So that's one of our items. And then we've got the last item on our auction. The last thing we do tomorrow night is auctioning off a dinner for 8 with our new chef. Our new chef and our current director of culinary, Nick and Jakes. And then there's a Pappy Van Winkle tasting.
Oh.
So they get to taste every single Pappy Van Winkle. The 10, the 12, the 13-year rye, which is not normally available anywhere, the 15, the 20, and the 23. So they are going to get an opportunity to taste every Pappy Van Winkle, which is almost impossible.
I mean, literally, it's probably a once-in-a-lifetime experience. But I can confirm after last year, the 23-year was exceptional.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it for that alone.
Yeah.
Just winning this for that alone.
Yeah.
What's the bottle you would out of all these 40, Sterling? I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Honestly,
I should have prepared to ask you this. I'll ask Kevin the same thing.
I'm going to tell you something right now. While he's looking at that, I had some guys over to the house, and I had them try the Pappy 10, the Pappy 12, and the Ben Holiday 8-year. Blind tasted. Every single one of them picked the Ben Holiday 8-year.
Wow.
it's incredible. I told you the same thing.
Every single one of them. And there was 4 guys. So.
I will say one of the ones last year that I had was that Whistle Pig Boss Hog 12 Feather and Flame. That one was beyond exceptional. They also had, I think, the 15 last year. The rye was also exceptional. I think even a really cool one, because it's Kansas specific and military, Horse Soldier 10-year Kansas Special Forces barrel pick. That's got to be up there.
Fully signed, very hard bottle to get.
That has to be up there for me.
Do you have a choice, Kevin?
I might go with the Lifting Spirits Willet. I might go with that purple top. Why? Because I've already tasted it.
So he knows.
It's amazing.
But where do you see? This is what's always fascinating to me is like you get a bottle that's rare, and it's like, when do you decide to break it out and enjoy it with friends or by yourself? I feel like if you had that, like I've got a 20-year Pappy that I've never opened. I'm just waiting for somebody to offer me enough money for it to sell
or for me
it.
to break into your house.
Or that too. No, it's behind lock and key, I swear. No, there's a. It's with everything else that's in the safe. A very big safe in our house. We got a lot of things to protect. But I would always I would look at it and go, okay, I've got this rare bottle, because my brother-in-law and father-in-law they collect bourbons, and the collection is just amazing. And when we all get together, they're pouring it and, you know, tasting different things. And I'm like, I wonder at what point do you go, no, I'm not going to touch that one because we drank too much out of that one. Well, can you actually enjoy those things? I've always wanted like that balance between this is awesome, this is great, this is something I really enjoy versus, well, I can't drink that because, you know, I'm going to run out of it.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's a you remember Junior Bridgman?
Oh yeah,
we lost Junior Bridgman last year. Well, his son is a part of our bourbon group, and
wow,
he travels, lives here, but travels to Louisville almost every
Junior
week.
Bridgman's son lives here.
Yeah.
How did I not know
Justin
that?
Bridgman.
I had
They
no
own
idea.
Heartland Coca-Cola and amongst other businesses.
Wow,
a great guy. And he called me one day and he said, "Hey, I might have a chance to get an Old Forester President's Choice." And I was like, "We got to get it." That'd probably be my first pick.
Yeah.
It's only distributed at the distillery in Louisville, and it's not on the shelf. I mean, you got to know someone to get a bottle pulled.
Yeah.
And it, you know, there's there's stories, and that's the thing about bourbon. That's what I love about bourbon, and that's what got me to call Sterling.
Yeah.
a couple
'Cause
years
he's a
ago.
bourbon lover.
Well, because he gave
It was Dylan. That was pre.
gave Dylan a bottle.
Darcy.
You were off the day, and he gave Dylan a bottle of Willet, and Dylan says, "Oh, good, I'll put it next to the one you gave me last year." And Sterling says, "Dude, it's meant to be drank. It's meant to be consumed. It's meant to create conversation." And that, I believe that 100%.
Yeah.
And I think when the time comes, you got to open that 20-year, and you got to taste it with someone that you know that can can talk to you about
I keep
it.
one bourbon. You keep one bourbon that's the special. But once you get a
Really?
second one that's that special, that means you got to crack one of them open.
I see.
In my opinion, you can only keep one for hoarding, for a special occasion.
Right.
But once you get a second one,
well, I got it as a going away present from Louisville, and it's a bunch of my bourbon friends that are also collectors are like, dude, I don't have a 20. You don't even drink, and you've got a 20 Pappy.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. But I had said, because I moved back in July of 2018, or 2019, going into the season in which they just came off the loss to the Patriots. The Chiefs did, and I said, if the Chiefs ever win the Super Bowl, I'll crack open the Pappy.
Yeah.
Okay. So we had moved here. And we had a number of things that were still back in Louisville that were at my father-in-law's house, my in-law's house, father-in-law, mother-in-law, still together. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to crack this open if the Chiefs ever win the Super Bowl. Well, fast forward only like 7-8 months later, they win the Super Bowl. Problem is, the Pappy was back in Louisville at the in-law's house. So I'm like, well, I can't crack it open. And by the time we then visited there or got back, I'm like, well, the moment sort of passed, right?
I think he intentionally left
the,
it there.
the moment has passed to where it's like it's a celebratory cracking it open like they won the Super Bowl. So I'm like, well, now it's July.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if I really want to crack it open as a celebration. Had it been there, though, when that happened, or had we not moved, and I was still, well, had we not moved, I wouldn't have had it. It was a going away present.
I mean, you can still have it now. You had other Super Bowls that they won.
Yeah, but it missed the moment. When Mizzou makes, how about this? If Mizzou makes a Final Four.
That is never getting drank.
Okay, that's what I'm
saying.
saying.
I'm a Mizzou alum, and I just know that's not going to happen.
There you go. But that was the plan, to crack it open if they won the Super Bowl. It was just the timing of it did not work out. So I don't know if there's going to be something special one day where I'll crack it open. But it is a good point of that it's meant to be.
When I joined you as the co-host.
No, that's not special enough, Kevin. It's not special enough. But it's a good point about it's meant to be enjoyed and shared and start conversations. And those that are in the culture of sort of that bourbon, collection and enjoying, they view it that way.
Yeah.
So,
well, I can't thank you enough for having me on, but I can't thank you enough for the years of, all the way back when we got started. When we got started with this Nick and Jake's tournament, Radio 810's been engaged, and it starts at the top. Chad's very engaged. Chad will be there tomorrow night, and if he's listening, thank you so much for the support. But what you guys do at our golf tournament. I mean, that Tom Watson interview live on the radio.
That was fun.
Do you know how many calls I got
Really?
on that? Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Jason crushed that.
Well, but it was also like, a bucket list type thing. Like in the matter, like in a less than 12 months, I have Tom Watson on the air and I talked to Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, come on, Jason as a younger kid in the 80s talking to Bo Jackson and Tom Watson
It's a
interviewing
great thing,
them.
isn't it?
Like, no way I'd been able to do that. But Tom he's great. And,
Yeah.
and he was so fun on the air.
Well, the December of 2024, we helped light the fuse on a hospital that opened in Olathe. the Camber Hospital. It's a Children's Mercy KVC joint venture. 72 beds. 48 of them were set to be on one side of the hospital for kids, and then 24 beds for adults for all mental health. Well, it opened December 2nd, 2024. By January 2nd, 2025, they had a waiting list.
Wow.
And recently they've made an announcement that they are disbanding the adult part, and they're going all kids. And the hospital is just amazing. And so many, if you're listening out there and you're a For the Kids supporter, and you guys are For the Kids supporters, you know, we have hardly no overhead. We have one salaried person, and she doesn't take a big salary because she loves it. And she's awesome, Tracy McDonald.
Yeah.
So the so much of the money goes directly to the good, and you know, the city's doing a lot of good.
And that's a great call, by the way, on that. It's not a situation where, you know, oh, it's just a small portion. No, this is directly helping those that need it.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to take a tragedy and turn it into help thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And you've got to be a special person to be able to do that. And that's Kevin Timmons that has been able to do it, because there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people that are benefiting from what you decided to do, in taking one of the worst things that can happen and turning it into something that helps so many families.
Yeah. Well, my wife Annie and Nick's sister Jennifer and his stepsisters,
the whole family.
Everybody was so into it and on. And Jennifer does just such a phenomenal job. But I really appreciate those kind words. And you know, if you want to do something good with $10,
there you
the
go.
next 24 hours, go to forthekidskc.org. The fact that you both had it memorized means a lot to me too.
Yes. Yeah.
Forthekidskc.org.
It's FORE, by the way.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep, for the
because
kids.
we started off just being in golf tournament.
Yeah.
So how can we have more fun? Let's add bourbon to this.
Yes, there you go.
The problem is we were adding too much bourbon to the golf tournament. So we need to separate this, I think. So
that's a good point. That's a really good point. By the time the golf tournament is over, it is For the Kids. Tomorrow night is the Lifting Spirits event, but forthekidskc.org. Go and buy those raffle tickets. It's a virtual raffle, so you could also check it out online, live streaming while it's going on. Those 40 bottles of bourbon that will be raffled off. $10 get you an entry to win one of these bottles.
And
of bourbon.
is Mick still on the line?
Mick, you still there?
Somehow.
Okay. Mick, I got a couple of these bourbons at Nick and Jake's Shawnee with your name on it, so you just need to let me know when you're coming up. I'll zip over
I
there.
love it. Close by, man.
try
Close
it.
by.
Yeah. Yeah. Love you, buddy.
That's what Mick, no even love you back, I guess.
No, right? I think, did Mick just say thank you?
I did. I said thank you like Sterling does. No, I love Kevin. By the way, my son was raising money for the Shrine Bowl last year, and we went to Kevin first at Nick and Jason. We had this whole spiel and everything, like looking for like $50 or $100 or whatever to raise. He's like, nah, this is no good. How about you just take the proceeds of our Tuesday night dinner crowd? And I was doing quick math in the head. I'm like, that's more than $50. Sure, let's go. And it was the only fundraising my kid had to do, which he was not going to do much because he's not motivated at all. And it was such a great night. The Shriners got wind of it. So we had all these Shriners show up with their spouses. The head of the Shrine Bowl is like, this is so unique. We've never had this for fundraising before. He sent out an email to let everybody know, hey, this is a unique fundraising idea you can do for all these kids, raising money for the Shrine Bowl. And, yeah, it was a pioneer move there, Kevin.
And you know what? You know what the email also said? Just find yourself a Kevin Timmons, and you'll be
Yes.
fine. Just go ahead
Find
and do
a
that.
benefactor, right?
Just go do that.
You guys all inspire me. That's you should take the
No,
credit.
it's, not at all. The stuff you have done, there's so many different families, Children's Mercy benefiting from this. It's fantastic work, and it's easy to support people that are giving back and doing something great for the community, and also having fun while you're doing it. There's nothing wrong with having a little fun while you're doing it, playing some golf and drinking some bourbon.
That's what it's about. And tomorrow night, dude, I'm fist pumping Sterling right now.
KT and I getting excited.
Kevin, can you do me a favor? Just one favor. You know he's got to work on Friday, right?
Yeah.
he still has to work and be here on Friday.
We have a remote on Friday.
Yeah, we
too.
do. We're going to be at the golf show
The
on
golf
Friday.
show on Friday. So that's a nice little Thursday, Friday couple for me.
It works good, I think.
Drinking bourbon, show up, golf show.
You know,
my
we're
God.
opening a new restaurant. It's out there, and it's called Dick's Steak and Oyster. And I've got my first meeting with people that are taking things out of the restaurant 7 a.m. on Friday. And when I booked that, I was like, oh, man,
what am I
that
thinking?
is really going to be a problem.
KT pulling
So
on
if I can get, if I can
don't go
get-
to bed.
If I can get through that, I'll take the rest of the day off, maybe.
There you go. Don't go to bed. ForTheKidsKC.org. Kevin Timmons. Kevin, you're the man. Always appreciate you
Thanks.
coming in and hanging out with you, man.
Really appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. There's Kevin Timmons. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Not as much fun hanging out with this guy, but we'll try to do it and get through it. We all have our cross to bear, and it's Mick Schaefer. He's in Indianapolis. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll talk some Combine and some Mizzou with Mick Schaefer next. We head to Indianapolis where we talk with Mick Schaefer. He's hanging out there in Indy, actually working, I think. I don't know that what we did there previous segment. Sterling doesn't typically do any work as it is, but that's certainly not something that would be considered working for Sterling. But Mick, you're actually having to work?
Well, I mean, I was working until 1 o'clock, and I came over here and sat for half an hour.
Well, here's the thing. I thought maybe I told Todd to go and get you a couple of flasks and some pulls of bourbon just to have in front of you so you could enjoy the conversation and take part with us.
I enjoyed it even sober. I'm just glad Kevin got on because he's always there waiting in the wings just in case I'm not going to be there. So he's been at the station for like 8 months.
It's true.
So he finally got on. Who's the guy that Letterman always canceled at the end? Was it like the guy from the zoo or something like that?
Yeah, that's right. And then it was, is it Kimmel and Matt Damon?
Yes, Kimmel and Matt Damon.
He just keeps canceling all the time. But Mick Schaefer, we do have on the show. Mick, what's today? There were a lot of local players today.
Oh my
Defensive
gosh.
linemen and linebackers. Like you guys had to be bouncing around at the different media availabilities.
We kind of pulled off a coup, and like other photogs were watching us. So there was we had Bain at podium 4, I think. Then I had David Bailey at 5, and then Cassius Howell, the local kid from Rockers, who'll go in the first round, D end, at 6. So you can only plug into one mult box, basically, where you can hear the audio. And they were all going at the same time. So we put our wireless microphone into one of their malt boxes and then ran 2 hardwire cables to like 5 and 6. And Matt just keeps bouncing around between them, like pulling out the cable from the back of the camera, putting in another one every time I move, and we're moving. And so I got Cassius Howell, like 5 questions really, really quick. Then we move over to Bailey, and there's a lot of people at both those podiums. But then Reuben Bain, I mean, it's the most I've seen of anybody in the last 2 days, and that includes all the head coaches and GMs who were talking yesterday. So he brought a lot of media members to the yard, and so that was kind of a fun, frantic 20 minutes trying to get as much sound as possible from those 3 guys going at the same time. They did not consider the Kansas City media when they laid out the schedule with those 3 guys.
Yeah, it's a good point because you've got Keyshawn Elliott and Big Citrus, Dominique Orange from North Kansas City.
He was like, I don't know where that came from. I'm like, well, I have a pretty good guess. Dominique Orange, where Big Citrus came from. 325-pound Dominique Orange. I
don't know where the big
came from. I think I know where
from.
Big Citrus came from.
I'm not sure. The citrus I get.
Tiny.
But
You
big citrus.
You got to do like the old time joke. You called big guys tiny.
Not sure.
Yes.
And it's always interesting. Like the Chiefs could draft Cassius Howell at number 9. Not that they will, but they would have the availability to draft Cassius Howell at number 9.
Yeah, I think he'll be around.
I think he'll still be around there at number 9.
With his T-Rex arms?
Right, I know that's a good point. I hope were Reuben Bain's arms as small in person as they are on TV?
Well, Bain's got that rep. I don't know what his are, but that's like literally like the only knock on Howell.
Yeah,
because he's like 30-inch arms, and I think, I don't know, like 133 or something like that, 34 for those DNs. And so he's addressed that, but he made a great point. He's like, I've always been able to be productive with him because he just has these monster seasons like he had this past year.
Well, I do agree, and I've traditionally been on the side, Mick, of, look at the tape, look at the production, arms and some of those things can be a little overrated. Hell, look at Trent McDuffie. But yet, I think at times they do play a factor. Again, also look at Trent McDuffie when it comes to some of their bigger-bodied guys, the Pickens, the CeeDee Lambs. We did see it at times, 95%, doesn't matter, but that 5 can play a factor. I do think Will Campbell might throw this the other way again, because Will Campbell, the whole thing was, well, he's the best left tackle in football, but
in the draft,
in draft, but has smaller arms. Well, what happened in the Super Bowl? Well, they got exposed. And now people might say, is he a guard because of those smaller arms? So I wonder how this does affect KC if Bain does come in with shorter arms. Does Will Campbell, his maybe lack of success with these shorter arms at left tackle, allow the Chiefs
But he did.
to have
he
Bain
did
there?
play and start on a team that got to the Super Bowl to get to that point, right?
Oh, 100%.
It's kind of like the Chiefs' offensive line had some issues or whatever. They get to the Super Bowl against the Eagles. Then they're exposed. But okay,
can you imagine
a lot of games?
Can you imagine if the Chiefs play the Patriots and they draft Reuben Bain? the Reuben Bain, Will Campbell looking like a kangaroo fight would just be great. Would just be amazing. Those two trying to, hand fighting between the two.
Well, it'd be Coughing Baby versus Hydrogen Bomb.
Yeah, whatever it is, I'm not sure, but
because
good night.
Bane's gonna rock him.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I think I caught where you were going with that there. So yeah, Mick, what could you run the 40 in right now?
Can I break 6, you think?
Yeah, you can break 6.
Oh, man. I ran as recent as a couple years ago. I ran with one of my sons who was kind of getting ready for the high school combine scene, and I was under 6.
Okay, that was like 2 years ago.
I say Chick-fil-A.
6 is a good number.
I hear
solid number.
Yeah, 6 is
How-
good.
how
It's a good
far-
six.
how-
Strong
Soren's shaking his head, and probably rightfully so. By the way, Soren's pushing the buttons here. It's great. He's like running my board. I'm very proud of him. I had no idea that you still knew how to do all that stuff. Look at you,
cheating on me.
It's just that Todd did it, and then he's just acting like he's doing it.
Yeah.
How far?
You know what? I love low expectations. 7.5. How about that? Yeah,
How far under 6 were you a couple of years ago, though?
I don't know. I was talking about
If it was like a 5'9"?
My boys are linemen, and they were like low 5s, and I was
Okay.
just a tick behind.
Yeah.
And I ran 1, by the way. I was like,
did you pull anything?
I did not.
Okay, good.
But that might be another deal. Like the second one I run will be like 3 seconds slower.
100%.
Hey, but that
I'll be
10-yard
done
split
for.
you had, Mick, was electric, man. That
That's
10-yard
it, right?
split, you
It's all
get
about
off the
start.
line quick.
It's all about the start.
Yeah, the 10-yard split goes right up there with the place kickers.
You throw
They have
throw
kind of
taquito.
a fan fest here that I think starts tomorrow, and I think one of the booths is, hey, race the 40, check your time, and I'll avoid it.
Who's it? Do they line it up? Can you pick like your athlete to go up against? Like I want to see what it's like to race Xavier Worthy just to see how far ahead of me
I
he
bet
will
they
be.
do have something like
or do
that,
I
yeah.
do I pick the slowest offensive lineman or defensive lineman
Ever,
there?
yes.
So I'm like I'm faster than that guy.
Tom Brady.
Yeah, that's a Tom Brady 40.
I could beat Chris Jones because he didn't finish, right? I could beat Chris Jones.
Oh, he finished. He finished. He was
Whoa.
carrying more weight than most
Sterling,
people
I
knew.
think you would lose to him in every way of that 40-yard dash.
I don't think
every way.
Nick, I don't think Sterling measures up
I don't
with
think
the
so.
40-yard dash
I like my
against Chris
odds.
Jones.
Couple feet short.
Talk about long arms.
I like my odds.
Yeah, I don't. I think you're gonna. I think you're gonna finish behind him by a few inches.
In every category.
Yes,
yeah.
more than a few probably. I think you are going to be well short of Chris Jones in the 40. I'm just saying. I think that's the case.
Don't believe him? Go watch it.
No, I'm just saying-
good.
No, it just.
I've never watched it, and I refuse to watch it for that reason. I'm not going to do it.
You haven't seen it?
You haven't seen
No,
it?
I didn't know he falls, but I don't know.
really?
Yeah,
You know
I'm
why
not.
he fell?
I'm not looking at it. I
He
know
got
what it
tripped
is.
up. He got tripped up by. Somebody put a baseball bat between his legs
There
and
was a
tripped him up.
guard
Nobody can run a fast 40 when they throw like something like that in the middle of your legs.
Come on,
Put
boys.
that thing
What are
away.
we doing here? And I'm the
That
one
actually
drinking.
measured out the same size as Reuben Bain's arms. It was crazy.
Somehow the guy drinking bourbon is the guy
Sorry.
that's responsible on air.
Sorry.
How did this happen?
Oh my God, are we still on the air? Actually,
You guys just gave me the cuts for Friday. That's
Michael-
Hey,
Entire
Sterling, how many bourbons you have? Have you had?
More
You
than
counting?
more than you, Mick.
This is
Yeah,
his
it's true.
third.
That's true.
Oh, Mick, you would have liked this. Kevin's packing up all the bourbon, and Sterling goes, "Can I get a refill real quick on that one? Because that was so
Top me
good."
off.
He topped him off. Can I get a roadie real quick? One.
Well, it's there. The bottle's open. It's meant to be drank. What am I
That is-
supposed to do? I don't have that at home. It's
I
the
probably
the toasted one. It's delicious.
I probably should have chosen an industry where you can just drink at work, like radio.
Yeah, I should have chosen an industry where we could talk about the things we just talked about at work. Oh, wait, I did.
You did.
Well, hold on. I should have chosen an industry where you could talk about that at work, go to break, and still have a show after. That I don't know if is true yet. We'll find out. More Zone next. Turns out still have a job. So I don't know about after the show, if tomorrow will be here on a Thursday. We'll find out if that is the case. Mick Schaefer is in Indianapolis. Mick, did you get out last night and find a TV for a 9 o'clock tip your time for Mizzou and Tennessee?
Had dinner with Todd and Soren. It was fantastic.
Oh, nice.
No, we went to
St. Elmo's?
Weber Grill, and it's like named after the actual Weber Grill, the same logo and everything.
Stand outside the hotel and make some steaks and burgers.
They grill up some burgers.
Do you think they cook everything
I was like,
on
no,
a
I was
Weber
leaning over
grill?
the shoulder. I'm like, you don't want to turn those too much. Don't turn them too much.
You only need to flip those once. My grill, my rules. Get out of my face.
Mick, was it weird that they were using a charcoal?
It's crazy. But you know what?
Char grill, whatever it's called, that brand.
Yeah.
It was a Traeger. It was weird.
Did somebody walk up to the chef and go, mine's probably done. You can go ahead and take it off right now. I like it pretty bloody. You can
100%.
I don't want you to cook it too long there. So I'm guessing maybe a TV around that you guys could check that out and
There
watch?
was, and then we went to I think it was a bar inside of one of the restaurants and watched it there, and it was great down the stretch. T.O. Barrett, that shot of the year for Missouri. I'm going to call it right now, and I think they're in the tournament. I think that got them in. They're going to have to get one more win, but I think they're going to get it.
Yeah, they've got 2 roadies against
I didn't like
Mississippi State and
if they had to
Oklahoma.
get 2 out of the next 3. I didn't like it.
Yeah. And look, they got Arkansas at home. I mean, they went and played with Arkansas on the road, and eventually Arkansas was just too much for them down the stretch. And T.O. Barrett played awful in that game, so they can take care of Arkansas.
If there's a number next to the team's name, I feel like they play better.
That's right.
Hear me out, guys. How about this then? Because they are playing well. They just, you're right, Arkansas at home. They have, Oklahoma and Mississippi State both on the road. They go 2-1. What's their seed? What's their seed if they go 2-1?
10 or 11?
Yeah, I would say just.
Still, you don't think it jumps up to a 9?
I think they'd have to go 3
8?
in a row and win a game or something in Nashville for them to be like a 9 or an 8.
Wow. Okay, you're that. I think if they go 3-0 and win a game in Nashville, I think they're a 7.
I mean, because they're not. I mean, they're not in everyone's bracket right now. They're still trying to make. Even with the win last night, they're not in everybody's bracket.
If
so,
they're not in
still
everyone's bracket after that last night, that means the dumbasses have Auburn in theirs,
right? But
and
it's
that's
still
absurd.
It's still the 260th ranked non-conference schedule. I mean, that's still
okay. But
matters.
Problem is, there's about 20 Mizzous out there, right, with a similar record, similar resume, and all that.
The team that grinds my gears is still Auburn, which hopefully now we can stop having that asinine conversation. Congrats, you played Purdue, Michigan in your non-con. Guess what? You got clapped by 30 in all those games. And Purdue, you're supposed to get a trophy for losing by 30? Mizzou, we don't talk about them losing to Illinois or losing to Kansas. But that's basically what the conversation is for Auburn. It's absurd.
No, it's because they beat St. John's and NC State.
Oh, congrats!
Well, I mean, those are quad 1 wins.
St. John's is good,
but those are quad 1
and
wins.
You're 6-9 in the SEC. What are we doing here?
I know, but I'm saying, though, that's if you're wondering why. I'm just saying that's why. Now, losing to Oklahoma last night on the road hurts Auburn because now they have. It's a little bit different earlier this month than now with Auburn because they've lost 6 of 7.
Before last night, Lenardi and all these things had them ahead of Missouri, which is absurd.
But now they're sitting at 15-13, and they're 6-9. And if they were 16-14 or 16-12, and then 7-8, and you're like, oh, they got a few games left, and they beat St. John's in a neutral site and took care of NC State, so they've got a couple of non-conference wins there, and they took care of Arkansas, and they've beaten Florida, so they've got some nice wins. They beat Kentucky. I could understand it, but they've lost 6 of 7, and they're falling apart down the stretch. I don't want a team in the tournament that's a bubble team that has just been brutal down the stretch and is falling apart, as opposed to a team that's putting it together. And
maybe if they had a head-to-head matchup to decide.
Do they?
Missouri beat Auburn, yes.
Oh.
Missouri beat Florida, Kentucky,
I don't
and
remember
Auburn.
That. No, I know that. I'm joking.
It's just like
joking.
what are we doing? It's Miami Notre Dame all over again.
I don't think they're in competition anymore.
Good.
Yeah, it's fine. I just want to pack your bags for Dayton. The first 4, 11 seed. Get ready. All right, Sterling. And then I want to figure out who's going to be the 6 seed that knocks off Missouri as an 11 and then KU as a 3. Who's that going to be? Iowa.
Oh, that's a good call, dude.
Maybe. God, I swear to God, if Missouri,
St. Louis,
if Missouri wins in Dayton in a play-in and gets Iowa as like a 6, and you got to go up against Ben McCollum again, like stop, enough, okay, come on. I don't know. North Carolina's trending to like a 6 seed right now.
Yeah, wouldn't mind that.
Louisville's like a 6 seed. Wouldn't be BYU because you said Missouri and then Kansas, so it wouldn't be BYU. Maybe a St. John's right around there.
Tennessee's kind of right around there.
Yeah, but then they wouldn't be able to play Mizzou though.
That's true.
Yeah, so it would be I mean, North Carolina. Looking at teams outside of, so you got Louisville, North Carolina.
How about a Villanova or something like that?
Yeah, Virginia.
Give me Virginia.
Yeah, Villanova, SLU.
Yeah, SLU. I wasn't kidding with SLU. I mean, that'd be hilarious if it was just basically
NC
all.
State could be one of those right around there.
Yeah. Yep. And they lost to Auburn, so clearly not good enough to beat Mizzou.
Love Missouri's chances.
that game against NC State. I said earlier in the show, Mick, that when they fell behind by 10, I didn't immediately react and go, oh, this game's over. But what I did do is sort of change the way I watched the rest of the game, as in like.
Wait, are you talking like it was 12-2? That
like 14-4, early on. And I'm like, they've played 8 minutes. They've scored 2 buckets. This is one of the wrong teams to fall behind by 10. That's going to make you work for every single basket, and they're going to wear you down, and it's going to be like a wrestling match, and the refs were sort of letting it be a wrestling match. It wasn't that I was like, oh, the game's over. But at that point, I did sort of change the way that I watched it in that I'll just sit back and watch and see what happens because I'm not really expecting him to win at this point, and we'll see what happens the rest of the way. And I think I came away even more impressed that they were able to come back from a 10-point deficit against a team like Tennessee that had won 7 of 8 and just leans on you and wears you down, and every single basket is tough to get. They had to be 11 points better in the final 30 minutes of the game, and you were already 10 points worse in the first 10.
I liked how they finished against the team from Tennessee as opposed to the week before, right?
Yeah.
I really liked how the last couple minutes they were able to put that game away and hold off a big Tennessee, any sort of big Tennessee run. So yeah, I liked it. I mean, we were watching last night. I'm like, when you look at Mizzou, they're a tournament. I mean, you've seen so much basketball. They look like a tournament team, right? They got a standout player in Mark Mitchell. They got a point guard last night that looked like a NCAA tournament point guard, and then shooters and pieces all around. That team fits in the NCAA tournament when they make it. I think at this point, no one's gonna shake their head like that. They don't belong because they do.
I think they'll take care of Arkansas at home, the last game of the season. So I think if you get either of the 2 road games, go 1-1, because I think. Get either 2 road games. I think they're going to finish 2-1 in these final 3 games because I really do. They win at home. It's what they do. They win at home. Yeah. Now they've won a number of road games too, but they win at home. Tennessee's a tough team. They took care of them. Florida's a tough team. They took care of them. Auburn, Vandy, they took care of them. Auburn maybe not as tough a team, but you get the point. When they're playing at home, it's different. And I think you're going to see T.O. Barrett last night against Arkansas at home because. He got in his own head in that game against Arkansas. The crowd chanting, the air ball, booing him every time he touched the ball. I don't really know that he really wanted to be there all that much. And last night, he took whatever was happening at Arkansas and took it out on Tennessee. And I think the next time they play, he's going to take it out on Arkansas again. And also, I don't think Billy, the GOAT or whatever, is going to hit 3 threes in a game when he has hit 0 threes in SEC play. So
Sterling and I were talking about it last week on how, the SEC is not what it was last year, but 2 6-12 teams got in last year from the SEC. Oklahoma and Texas. So I think 10-8 and certainly 11-7 is gonna. You're in. You're free. You're in free.
Yeah, I think they win 2 of these next 3 games. Win one of the road games. Mick, what you got planned tonight and then tomorrow? You got 17 different podiums you'll get to tomorrow.
Lot of it's not as bad tomorrow.
Good.
Lot of editing left and some live shots left, and then Todd and Soren, they're leaving, so we gotta find somebody else to hang out with.
Oh, well, that's too bad. When are you heading back?
Friday.
Okay.
We're gonna get Jeremiah Love, and we'll have the car running. Ask him a couple questions, run out, and leave. He's like at 12:30.
There you go. Nice, Mick. Thank you, sir.
Kidnap him.
I appreciate. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
Make sure they're going to keep him from the draft so the Chiefs don't take him at 9. Just do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
They can't take him at 9. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you hanging out with us, man. Enjoy the next couple of days. We'll catch up soon. Probably
See you
Monday.
guys.
See ya. There's Mick Shavery's there in Indianapolis. A lot of local people there at the Combine, including Seren and Todd next.